I will hereby call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Sunderland Selectboard. The time is 6:31. Val?
I would like to call to order this regular meeting of the Sunderland Finance Committee. The time is 6:31.
Alrighty. Our first order of business today is going to be to approve the minutes from our 3/9/26 meeting. I did check and those minutes are in our SharePoint, so we do have access to those.
I motion we approve the minutes of 3/9.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Dan Murphy.
Aye. 3-0, Becky. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you guys want to vote on those, or have you not had a chance to?
We don't have it. We can talk about this another time. We don't have access to the SharePoint.
We will get them to you, and you guys can approve them at the next meeting. Okay. Perfect.
They don't do their
We'll
own
work it.
minutes.
And I'm working on.
I think it's the same minutes, but both boards should approve them.
But we don't get.
But they don't have access to see them.
Yeah, no, I thought they had their own set of minutes, that's all.
I think we might when we don't have a joint meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, I saw the minutes on an email this morning.
Where they're.
These two emails came in together, one for the meeting and one for the minutes.
You're in a special group, dude.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Okay.
We got some Excel files.
Mm-hmm.
No, I got one in my Word document, in my Hotmail, but, all right.
Well, either way, it's not a big deal. You guys can vote on them next time. We'll just make sure that everybody has access before our meeting on Wednesday. All right, moving right along to new business. Before we jump into budget stuff, we're going to have a quick meeting with the Energy Committee, or at least Aaron from the Energy Committee, about an MOU with Constellation for low-income rates.
Good evening, I'm Aaron Falble, I'm representing the Energy Committee tonight. And a number of weeks ago, I was approached by Mr. Mark Capodona, who's joining us virtually for the meeting this evening. He has been our consultant for our municipal aggregation programs since 2020. And he approached me with the following very interesting offer, which is that a solar developer named REDP Long Pond Solar LLC, based in Hingham, Massachusetts, is building a community solar project. And through the SMART program, the developer can get an extra incentive if it can show that a sizable portion of shareholders in the community solar project qualify as low-income residents. And what I mean by that, they're already paying the R2 reduced rate. They have qualified for fuel assistance or LIHEAP, or so they're already income qualified. And by becoming members of this community solar, they will receive an extra 2 cents per kilowatt hour reduction on their electricity rates, which is substantial. On an average electricity bill, that comes to about $12 a month, or $144 a year, which is, as we'll hear later in the meeting, during these economic times, something like that can bring some relief to our low-income residents during tough financial times. So as you mentioned, there are actually 2 memorandums of understanding that the town would need to agree to. Just they're very much written in legalese, but they basically acknowledge that this arrangement is taking place, that Mark and Colonial Power Group will administer the program together with the solar developer, and the residents of Sunderland who are already paying the R2 rate do not need to fill out any extra paperwork or anything. That will be handled by Colonial. The town just has to agree that this is a good arrangement to have, and that you basically authorize Colonial to supply the information to the solar developer so that the residents can get that reduction. I think it's a win-win for the town. It makes available solar energy to people who don't have a suitable roof, or have too many trees in their backyard, or apartment dwellers, and they get a further reduction on their electricity rates, which is coming at a very good time.
A couple questions on that. Do you know where the solar site is located that this would be feeding from?
Mark, I'm going to ask you to answer that if you can.
It is at 109 Neck Road in Rochester, Massachusetts.
Okay, Rochester, okay. And I know a lot of people have signed up for various programs that involve getting their solar from any number of programs like this. Will folks who are already signed up for a different program to get their energy through a solar provider, often getting some sort of rebate from that, are they gonna be eligible for this?
As long as they're paying the R2 rate.
As long as they're paying the R2 rate, okay, that's.
Not anybody, they have to qualify as low income.
In the aggregation on the R2 rate.
In the aggregation on the R2 rate, okay, great, in the aggregation, gotcha. And, you probably wouldn't be here suggesting this if we didn't, but I'm assuming that means that the town has enough people who do qualify in the R2 rate to make it so that the town as a whole qualifies. Yeah.
Yes, the reason Sunderland was selected, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, is that we do have a sizable number of R2 customers already, which makes Sunderland especially eligible for this type of arrangement.
Wonderful,
Correct.
okay. Crystal, do you have any questions for them?
I do not.
Dan, any questions?
No, I think it's great.
Yeah, it sounds like a win-win-win all around, everybody wins, so that's great. I'm assuming you would want a vote on the MOU, or is it, you said there's 2 MOUs?
It's 2 MOUs.
Okay.
One basically acknowledges Colonial as administering the program, and the other one allows the town to release the information.
So here's what I'm gonna do, because we don't have the actual wording of the MOUs in front of us, it's hard for us to vote and say, like, I'm voting on this MOU. What I think we'll do, and correct me if I'm wrong, is vote to authorize the town administrator to sign those MOUs
Yes.
when they become available, given her own judgment that they're appropriate. Does that sound good to you, Crystal? Any problem with that, Dan?
Nope.
All right, so at this time, I've entertained a motion to authorize the town administrator to enter into the 2 MOUs for the solar aggregate program when they become available, contingent on her approval of them.
So moved, so I don't have to say all
Perfect.
that again.
Dan, do you have a second?
Okay.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0.
I did.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
3.
I did, Murray.
I was ahead of myself there. 3-0. Just let Becky know when that is ready, and we'll
I'm
get it
going
taken
to
care of.
send her the MOUs. If you need to push
Yeah,
it
I
by
just-
town council or something, of course, that's totally appropriate.
Yeah, there's a lot of technical data. I might
Yeah.
send them past Crystal, it's your field.
Yes, and I'm sure Mark would be able to help explaining anything that you might not
Okay.
Yep.
understand or might not be clear. He's been a tremendous help to
Absolutely.
us.
Happy to help.
Thank
Wonderful.
you, Mark.
No, we appreciate it much. And thank you in the energy community again for continuing to keep on top of opportunities like this for people in town to save money, and also the added benefit of having more renewable sourced energy for members of town. So.
Yeah, we wouldn't have brought it to the town if we didn't think it was a good idea and a good move for the town to make, especially for our low-income residents.
You guys always make it easy. You come in with something that there's
Free money.
almost impossible to say no on. Any other questions for us while we're here? Or?
No?
All right. Anything from the board? Great. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Just
Appreciate it. Oops, sorry, Dan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Alrighty. Next up, we are back to talking about the budget. The first item on new business after that is renew the final scenario for base budget and override budget.
Is the newest one the one we got an email earlier today?
Yes, and it's
Okay.
in the SharePoint.
Oh, it is,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
And
Great.
it's on, here's,
Quick question before we start. Just what's the red ones? What do they mean? Do they denote anything, or are they just red?
you mean the pink column?
Yeah, you know the pink column, but then there's numbers in there that are red. I didn't know why they were a different
Oh.
color.
Because there's, it's an issue that might change.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
All right, so this,
Would
I'm just trying
anybody
to,
like a copy of the paper?
Yeah.
so Becky, it's the one that's dated 3/25/26?
3:30.
3:30. I'm not seeing it in the SharePoint.
Check. Is it in today's folder or is it
Yeah,
in the...
in today's
Oh,
folder.
today's folder,
Or,
okay.
yeah, I was trying to make it easier.
All right, nope, that's
Sorry,
fine.
I should've told
Nope. As long as I know where to look for it, I'll find it. Okay, got it.
So Dan, what you're talking about is like line 24, town council. That one's showing 18,000, but it's highlighted in red.
Yeah, I just didn't know what the distinction was.
Yeah. And to confirm, Becky, what you're saying is those are ones where we put reductions in there, but we probably shouldn't have, or we need to revisit those for one reason or another. Because, for example, for town council, we know we're going to have expenses this year that are going to almost assuredly bust that budget, so we need to talk about that.
And I did put, what was it, the 12,000 in the override column, but
Mhm.
it's, discussion needs to happen.
Because obviously we need to have it, but do we need to have it in both, or can we even get away with not having it in the lower one? That's a question. Sorry, Dan, you were saying something?
I was just gonna ask, what's the total override budget, is that the 724,324?
No, the total is actually the, following that line over, the total is 784,802. And
Okay.
that's, so basically, either we have to fund up column CT by 60,478, or we need to move those 60,478 of items into the override column.
Well, and we only really have $14,198 of override money per se to be able to move over there, because we can't shift everything over there because we've already set the number at $800,000 because we had to by Friday.
So it has to be a combination of cuts and,
No, because it's 724 is the total in the override account right now.
Oh, okay, you're saying, okay, gotcha, I'm sorry, yeah. Gotcha, I see what you're saying. All right.
Alright, so, I mean, if we just start right from the beginning, I'm looking select board admin assistant, why is that a 15% change on,
The explanation goes back to when the person was hired prior in September of 2024. The person was hired for their full, to work 30 hours a week. 32 hours a week. And the Board of Health clerk position used to be part of that job, but was no longer part of that job. And that wasn't clearly worked out. So the dollar amount the assistant was given had to come, she had to be paid for 32 hours out of that budget, which had only been paying 28 hours prior to that. So I caught up to the correction this year. I didn't catch it last year.
so then there's no Board of Health?
Yes, the
Admin.
Board of Health admin, we developed their position out just from the agent's position, the dollar line, because there was no dollar line for the Board of Health clerk.
So if we're
I'm
looking,
missing something here.
so if
We
we're
were
looking
double
at,
spending some money.
Right, so we were, but if the admin assistant was a 28-hour-a-week job, and she was getting the extra 4 hours for Board of Health to equal 32, shouldn't that job be back to 28 hours if they're not doing the Board of Health work?
The letter was written by my predecessor
Yeah,
for the full amount of hours.
so
okay.
if we can just take a second to shift over to the other side of that equation and look at the Board of Health. So what we're saying is that at one point it was 28 hours was being paid out of the select board admin accounts and
Yeah.
4 hours are paying out of Board of Health. At some point, we're no longer getting the 4 hours of Board of Health, so we're paying 32 over here. Do they have a clerk that's getting the 4 hours otherwise?
Well, yes, and she is, I'm sorry, it was 5 hours, and she is now been moved to 10 hours. She was hired almost a year later by the Board of Health, because she's taken up agent money to do that, because she has background also as an agent, so her support is very effective.
So we're dropping the money being spent for agent? I mean, we can't keep,
Well, we're trying to work it out because they are just, the collaborative is what we
yeah,
use for our agent, and we're waiting for them to come up with pricing. I started in January trying to get numbers from them, and I don't have that yet.
So what
And
you're
then
saying
I'll
is that
split out what we have left in this budget.
so you're saying that our clerk is doing work that the collaborative was doing prior, and we're having her do it currently because she's able to, and that's why she's having the 10 hours?
No, the Collaborative has replaced our agent,
Okay.
Stephen Ball. So he left in March of last year. So we are reconfiguring, but everything is a little up in the air as we wait for the professionals in Greenfield to start giving us pricings. And they asked us not to drop our budgets till they get their pricing to us.
Okay. Because what I'm hearing is that we were paying for 32 hours and now we're paying for 42 hours for those same two positions over the course of a
Yeah.
long time. And
Yeah.
then we didn't approve that. That just kind of
Right,
happened.
I mean, how is
Which-
this happening without any type of approval process? Who's making that decision that we're just gonna increase someone's hours? It's just a question.
Yeah, I walked into this and was discovering it day by day, working with people. The positions outside of the Board of Health clerk, the changes to the admin position had happened by Margaret, and I inherited those.
Mhm.
And then I've been working on sorting out the Board of Health situation, trying to keep the department working, and we now have, our clerk is somebody who has spent a lot of years working with Board of Health agents, and
Yeah.
she actually was a Board of Health agent.
And don't get me wrong, I've got no philosophical problem with adding hours to somebody who's qualified in the Board of Health position, in that position, but one would assume that would see a reduction in a different line item. That was what we're paying to the collaborative for those services. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, is that like, this is going up, this is going up, where is it going down? Or are we talking about an overall increase in the amount of money that the town is
The
paying? for all of that?
collaborative has been providing services through a grant and has not charged any money for this year.
Okay.
Becky,
Yeah.
given the amount of money that we're talking about, would it be possible to lower one of those Board of Health lines, knowing that we may have to revisit when we have a complete picture of what we're going to be doing with these different pieces?
It's possible for sure.
I mean, they ask us not to, but that doesn't mean that we have to, right?
It's just they should have those numbers July 1st, and they're gonna be expecting us to make some sort of payment, and then I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I'm just really concerned that there's this shifting and adding of hours. And, and again, today's the first day we're finding out about these additional hours of people working. And it,
I support increasing the Select Board Admin Assistant line to what it's supposed to be.
yes,
That makes sense. Getting things in the right place makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think adding it back somewhere else before we've had a chance to make a decision what that looks like is hard, given, and I understand by July 1 they may have it, but that's not our timeline. You know,
Correct.
that's what's hard.
Which makes the lines vulnerable right now.
Well, and if I'm
And
looking
they'll
at
come
the,
back and hopefully,
and if I'm looking at the Board of Health salaries line item, it was 13,729, then 15,281, and now we're looking at 22,000. That's a substantial increase there. And is that because the 5 hours a week is coming out of that line item now? Is that what you're saying?
yes.
Okay. Because again, we're looking at an extra $7,000 there. Is that like a ginormous pile of money? No, but it's $7,000 that we otherwise, haven't had a chance to look into. Okay.
Would we expect the cost to be higher since we're doing the collaborative in any case?
Yes, the cost will go up because we haven't been paying for the agent services.
And so we've decided not to hire another agent. Did we try to get an agent or did we not? Did we try or did you just decide to go to?
We did.
Greenfield.
Oh, but Greenfield we talked to Deerfield about sharing, we looked around. And then with Beanie coming on board, it's been such a big boost professionally. She just has.
so will she go back to 5 hours a week once?
They don't want, I mean, if they can keep her, I mean, she's really doing a lot of
No,
work.
I'm not saying she's not.
It depends with, yeah.
It's just, if we're gonna be paying the clerk, I understand paying her the extra 5 hours a week, whatever, and I understand also 5 hours a week is not a ton of money. It's though, there has to be a process and a procedure for increasing hours, for changing job responsibilities. It can't just be, this fits our bucket, so we're gonna do it today.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's that it's either our needs have increased, so we need more hours. That's fine, but that needs to be the argument for why we have the more thing. Or it's because the town, via that role, is taking on responsibilities that we were otherwise paying for, in which case there needs to be either, again, a corresponding change in the amount we're paying for those services, or, again, an argument for why we need to have an increase over here and not a reduction over here. But we don't need to necessarily spend all night on this item. Any other discussion on this particular one before we?
I was just gonna say, one thing that would be good to know is, how many permits are they pushing through every year? I mean, is it going up, down, what's the trend?
Oh, it's certainly gone up.
Okay,
Oh, yeah. I mean, the work it's night and day from a year ago.
Okay.
oh, number of permits or just work they're doing?
Both. I mean, they're handling a lot of permits. I don't get any
Okay.
calls from people saying they aren't getting taken care of anymore.
Okay,
I have a question. So, the select board administrative assistant salary, the 32 hours, that's doing 32 hours, was paid to do 8 hours plus 4 hours, and now it's doing 32 hours. I'm assuming there's plenty of things to be done that they're doing now instead. But why are we not allowed, like, I'm just trying to get a sense of, you know, if we're cutting people's hours, are we not allowed to cut those hours? Or is it the same kind of commitment do we have to all our staff, or is it like a contract?
She does not have a contract.
Right, so I'm just saying it's our choice if we say you're really only, the select board only wants to pay you for 20 hours a week, 28 hours a week, not 32, now that you're not doing the Board of Health bit,
She was never hired to do the Board of Health bit.
but she just did it extra.
No, it was that
She
the
had to
previous
fill in-
position did
yeah.
both, and when we hired her, she got hired just to do half of it, but got given, based
the
on
hours.
the
Okay.
previous conversations, the full 32 hours just for the part of the position. And so, from the beginning, it was sort of, I don't know if we call it a mistake, but it was a choice to do
Another
that.
person was hired in August, for the Board of Health position, who quit within a month. And it was very, yeah. A lot of things changed quickly. A lot of these positions got filled before I started, and I was sorting out who was doing what, and
I mean, I think the admin assistant, any changes to that, I think are hard to do right now in the midst of just finding out about this. I think we try to simplify. I still think, I think it'd be interesting to see an equivalent offset or reduction in some budget line in Board of Health, knowing that that may make it harder for you to build what we need to build between the consortium and the agents and all the different things. Or if people feel comfortable just leaving it as it is and knowing that all this is sort of a conversation for another day, I'm fine with that too.
I mean, it definitely, again, today in budget season, but I know every day is budget season, but in this budget crisis we are in right now, it's probably not worth spending too much more time on it. But there needs to be a very clear understanding that no jobs increase hours without
Yeah. Right.
some type of discussion with
This
the
body.
finance and select board and personnel. This just cannot happen. That one or two people are making, it isn't right. That people's hours are changing and people's job responsibilities are changing without us knowing anything about it. It's,
And Becky, can I ask, the next line, resource administrator salary, had a note that said split position adjustment. Is something like that happening there also, just because we're on this topic?
She works 16 hours a week. There's no more changes.
But
Yeah, there was some question, I'm sorry for the note. I think we resolved it.
It does look like that line item is going up by 7.1% this year. So is that a COLA in a step, or is that a?
That is the second one that was adjusted from last year.
so her hours increased from last year
They
also.
didn't increase, the budget was not sufficient for what they, for what she was being paid.
Okay.
And so hers was not funded a few hours from some other place like the previous one, or was it?
No.
Okay. So it looks like next change is town audit, and we had talked about that where.
I have a question before that, actually.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Town administrator expense shifted between a couple of our meetings, and I understand that one in some iterations may have been cut beyond what we could. Could you just tell us a little bit about that? It was at $1,305, and then it moved up to $4,300.
So that one, if you look at the yellow line,
In
the
the
base budget
override.
is still $1,305.
Right.
There's another $3,000 in the override. So if it passes, then it's back to the 43.
Right, but and this is going to be a theme. There's a bunch of these where last week it was 1,305 in base. It was 1,305 in the 5% reduction. I'm sorry. The 5% line was, I thought, 1,305. And so I was just trying to figure out if that changed.
Yeah, well, and our
between
budget
those
base
two.
is our 5% reduction base as a base. There's a lot of things that have been changed about it,
Right.
but that is where the starting point for that one was.
Okay.
We no longer have, we had more columns before. We're now down to just having the base and the override, the two columns. Where we had 3 or 4 before.
Okay.
So, is our objective right now to cut 61,478 out of column CT to get the base budget without override balanced?
So, sort of. It's twofold. It's one, to go through these items to make sure that we don't have something glaring in there that we need to fix. For example, if we need to put more money into either one of those because, like, for example, the town legal aid, we need to have more money in there. We're going to most likely have to go back and add possibly to both budgets or to one or the other. The second part is going to be once we've fiddled around and that number goes from 60 up or down a little bit to whatever we land on, then we need to figure out how do we close that gap, either through making changes to the budget itself or by putting more free cash or stabilization into the base budget, which we do have the option of doing.
So our focus is on, our two budgets are CT and CW. Right now we're focused on CT to figure out what our non-override budget will look like.
Yes.
That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's fine, but I want to try to make this point again. There's a number of them where we had tier 1 and tier 2 last week, right on Thursday. A lot of the tier 2 numbers are now the override numbers. And this is why on Thursday I asked you, or we talked about it, and I said, for the override, it's generally the tier 1 number, right? Not the tier 2 number. But there's a number of tier 2 numbers that have now become the override number. This is one of them.
Okay.
That 4,300 was a tier 2 number, not a tier 1
So you're
number.
talking about the $250,000, half of which was the police officer, and the other half is what you're talking about.
That's right, yeah, because
Yes.
there were some exceptions that we did that, but
Yeah.
there were a number of others, there's probably a dozen that I flagged that the tier 2 numbers are now the override numbers that we didn't talk about, that weren't police wages and things like that, and this is an example of that.
Okay.
So are we going up to 4,300 in the override budget?
And we can scrap that.
I mean, or we can.
I'm not trying to
Find
scrap
somewhere in the middle,
anything, I
put
just
1,500.
want
No, to be consistent with what it was.
Well, it's not even to be consistent, because some of these things we do have to
Yeah.
tweak and we do have to
Absolutely.
understand.
And I was
And
very
if,
nervous of not
if-
having any money.
right, so if town administrator expenses are really gonna end up being that dollar amount or more, we can't,
That's right.
doesn't do us any good to drop it down to 3,000,
That's right.
knowing well and good, we're gonna spend 4,600. If we know we're gonna spend 4,600, I mean, that's what it was for fiscal year 26, 4,600. I don't know how much of that got
Well,
spent.
1894.
Yeah, that's the thing though, looking at the budget
Right.
actuals though, in 24 and 25, we came in way under on that number.
Yeah.
So, like, I would agree that if we were spending 4,600 every year, it would probably be hard for you to figure out how to cut a whole bunch out of that. But if we're returning 2,500 every year anyways, I think we can have the upper number. And again, it doesn't have to be that we just zero it out. We could say, okay, we add 1,000 in the second budget, so that it goes from 13 or 23, depending on how things land. And I think given what we have here, that's probably going to be 23, 25 or something. That would be,
What about 2,500?
yeah, 2,500. So,
Yeah.
okay. So what we'll do is we'll put
I mean,
an additional.
We haven't spent 2,500 there in years, right?
But we're still reducing it by over $2,000.
Correct.
So that's,
So yeah, so
But we've never spent more than
1195.
1,800, so.
So 1195 will be our new 1A ballot question number for that to bring the total up to 3,000.
Can I interject?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Yeah, so I just thought as we go through this, we have a lot to go through. Should we put things into like a couple baskets, like one basket, automatic, we can cut that. Middle basket, maybe we can, and then third basket, only if we really have to. Can we just start dividing these up? Because we could talk through each one of these forever. But we might get through them all and say, okay, we've got 7, 8, 9 things that we can definitely fix or cut. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, and in fact, I was actually thinking about doing that when I was doing my own calculations over last weekend, was marking which ones are hold items. These are the ones that, like, everything else we can do, this has to be the $3,000 is, or this has to be the $5,000 is, so that we know when we get to the time to start doing the final balancing of scales, we don't have to then keep going back through the list. So if both boards think there's value in doing that, as we go, we can say, you know, I think I would probably keep it simple, locked, unlocked would be my, you know, this is one that, nope, we're not touching it, this is the number it has to be, and then this one has wiggle room, one or the other.
I think as we go, that makes a lot of sense. I think trying to separate it out in additional buckets and then coming back to it is gonna
Yeah,
be
so
the-
I'm just, as I go, I'm gonna
Yeah.
put a little plus or minus next to it. Plus means that we can have some movement, minus means nobody ain't going anywhere,
Perfect.
and then we'll,
But I think the flagging things that we missed, that we haven't talked about, like this last one, I think we owe it to ourselves to go through all of those.
yeah, so
Right?
let's
So-
go
so
through it all.
there's good
But just
logic
for
and
adding
whatever
some-
behind all of them, but I think we haven't talked about it. The numbers have changed and we should at least talk about why they changed.
Yeah, so just to
I
go,
agree. I think we just got it, like Nathaniel said, you know, whether it's 2 baskets or 3 baskets, we just say, I like that lock, unlock.
so starting from the top just quickly because we haven't gotten very far, I don't consider any of the moderator or select board salary, any of the elected positions, I don't consider any of them to be locked. Like, they could potentially change, there's no contract behind them, and there is precedent for boards in the past having foregone stipends and whatnot, so I'm not gonna consider those to be locked in that truest sense. The ones I'm looking at are things that are, we are charged $7,000 for this VAR software or whatever, we have no choice, it's a bill, we can't change that, that is an item we cannot fiddle with. Does that sound fair or reasonable?
Yes.
Okay,
I have another category that falls somewhere between the two,
okay,
which is there's things that, not to pick on this one, but the select board administrative assistant, it's 32 hours. Could we cut it to 28? Like if we're cutting library hours, if we're cutting, like if we're doing a non-override
Yeah.
budget, should we make that base be lower?
well, that's why I was differentiating just on things that we just do not have a choice on.
Right.
Because all of the salaries, we have some choice on.
Right.
I mean, there's
Right.
contracts and whatnot.
I just
but-
don't, I don't wanna put that into a category that's locked. I
Yeah,
wanna, you
no,
know.
I agree, that wouldn't be, in my mind, locked.
Okay.
So
So,
telephone for the town buildings went down, is that even possible?
Yeah, so in this select board section here, there were
Yep.
5 others that were like that town administrator expense where something closer to the tier 2 number
Mhm.
fell into the override number, and I just want to revisit.
Yeah, which ones are those?
It's telephone for town building departments, town audit, veterans memorial grounds, technology, and town council, those 5.
Okay.
And again, I'm not saying it should not be the numbers that are in there, I'm just saying the numbers changed, and I
And we
just
talk
wanted
about
to, just like the town administrator expense.
So let's start with town council, because that's one that we need to talk about. That one is one that technically we do have levers of control on, because we can decide to not have that money. The town votes on that, we don't have the money, halfway through the year, we tell our legal team, sorry, we're not gonna fight anything anymore. It's not a great outcome, but it is an outcome that we could talk about. That being said, we know we have more than last year's base amount of money that we're gonna need to spend. So I do think it's valuable in the override budget having the amount that we think we're gonna need.
Tier 1 was 24,000, just to.
24,000. So, and this one's what, 50? Or sorry,
It's 30.
30. So, and the request was for
36 originally.
Yeah. So, at least 30 is still a sizable reduction in what they need. But we could also, I mean, but again, 24 is also very reasonable, and we're in a tight year, so, you know.
I defer to Becky in your judgments of historical usage of this. I understand it's a lever, but it's a tricky lever, because if you need it, you really want to be able to use it, so.
Well, one thing I will say is that we do always have the option of not responding to things. In fact, the select board made a decision this past year not to respond, not to send our lawyers to respond to something, and it worked out just fine. They don't have done so. So that's fine. We saved ourselves $800 or something like that for having not had sent them that thing. And so one of the things that we can do is go into this year knowing that we need to be a little picky with our dollars we spend on that and make hard decisions. I mean, there's often times where members of the board will ask Becky to reach out to town council to ask some questions on something that we really don't need to ask town council for. I could probably do my own research and come up with almost as good of an answer. And so we are using money occasionally in ways that we could tighten our belt in that respect. All that to say, I would be fine with 24 being the top number on that. That is still an increase over last year. And
I mean, how much of a deficit are we in right now in our legal?
About 12.
So we're already at a deficit of $12,000 in
Then
our
30
legal.
would make sense,
Yeah.
because then it would be flat to,
Right.
not even where we're going to finish this year, but where we are.
yeah.
Great.
Okay, so are we all happy with leaving the 18 as the oh god budget and then the
Yes.
30 is the up one? Okay.
Yep.
So the telephone for all town buildings, it's another one you said has changed, but we must have a monthly telephone bill.
That was another thing that changed when I started. So Jeff had changed all the phones back over to Verizon.
Yeah,
So there was a bit of chaos last year because some things didn't get canceled.
yeah.
And so we got it all changed over, and so what the actual that hit this account was only $12,882, but I think a lot of the telephone went into individuals' account last year. So I think that number is artificially low, but that's why I split off some of the money to put it in the override that we could.
But we know, if that's the amount, our best guess, it should be in both of them. It's the
Right,
telephone.
because it's a telephone bill. It's not a credit
I
card
know.
bill that goes up and down. You're getting assessed a monthly bill, and
If your best guess is 16,305, then we should put 16,305 in
Well,
both.
I know it should be more because of all the transitions, but try to break out.
So the
to
26
override.
budget was 19.2, right?
Yes,
And originally tier 1 was 18,000 and now it's 19.5. So that like 18 to 19.5 seems to be the range that we've considered. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. So
But
what?
I think it should be in the base and as well,
I agree.
that's
It should be
not,
the
it
same
should
in
be the
both.
same in both.
Yeah.
right,
Well,
it's,
you don't, see the way we're doing, column CU only has override items.
Mhm. Right, but I'm just saying the telephone shouldn't be an override item. We either pay the bill or we don't.
Okay, so you don't want it in
We-
the
it should-
override.
If we
We're
say
saying
don't
that
pass
it should be
override,
the same
That's what I'm
number
saying.
in
Yeah.
both.
Yeah,
Whatever
if
the
you think
number is.
16 is gonna work, then we should put that in both. If you think
Right.
19 is
And
gonna
to
be a
be
number,
clear,
we
when
should
you
put
say
that
put
in
them in
both.
both, what you mean is have it be in the CU column, but not the CB column, because in both would mean that we're doing
CV is
double.
the additional column,
Yeah,
yes.
so just-
So
just-
zero additional, yes.
I know it's a minute difference, but I want to make it clear that what we're talking about is not it being in both line items, but it being in both
It's the
budgets.
same budget in both scenarios.
Right.
There we go, yeah.
It's just like an insurance payment. It's a flat monthly rate.
So it may be, there may be some unclarity about what that actual number is, but your best guess
Well,
of what it is, that's what we should put in there, for both of them.
Right,
Yeah.
because we can't put a,
Okay, but you see what I'm saying? If you put it here, you wouldn't, if you put 19.2 there, you wouldn't put 19.2 in the override column.
No, you just put zero
Zero.
But it would be 19.2.
In the last
in the
It would
blue
be the
column.
budget in both of them.
Right.
in CW, which is the
So
last
put,
one.
that's what I'm saying, 0 in the red column, and then, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So
No, I agree.
19.2.
It's
So
what the bill
19.5,
is.
19.2 is what you think is the right number?
Yeah.
So that does bring our gap for the base budget up by another $3,000.
Awesome.
Which,
I just think that one doesn't make sense to have two.
yeah, no,
Town-
this is the thing that we have to do.
Town audit, right below it, same thing, should be the same number,
Yeah.
right? So it was 13.5, and tier 1 was 14, now it's 14.5. I don't even care which one it is, like if someone else wants to tell me what it costs to do the town audit, let's just drop that in the base.
14.5.
So this should be just, 13.5 in both.
No, 14.5.
14.5.
14.5.
So we just pushed 1,000 to the left, and it's now 14.5 across.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So it's another
All
1,000.
right, lawn mowing.
That one was fine. Next.
I mean, we can choose to have the lawn mowed every 2 weeks instead of every week,
Yeah,
or,
exactly. No mow May, town Sunderland.
yeah, I mean,
Veterans Memorial Grounds Maintenance.
So currently, we don't have any money in the base budget for that. It's only in the,
But did we
In
not
the-
spend any money in 25?
I don't know.
It looks like we didn't spend any money last year.
yeah, it looks, yeah, exactly. It looks like our actuals are,
I think there's 2 different lines. There's a line somewhere else in the budget. I found it. I think it has $950 in it.
right, but that's the money,
Care of
so,
Veterans Graves, 700.
right, but
Okay, so we can leave.
the
this
Veterans
one.
Memorial is the one right out in front of the building where if
The
there's,
big ceremony. And
So
they
we mow and
usually
that's all we
do
do. We're not doing any special weeding or anything around that.
right, but you need money in the event something is damaged, you know, if one of those boards on the bench breaks, you can't really
But is
throw,
that this budget?
Does it need to be its own line? Can that just
It's
be
the
part of the
maintenance.
general maintenance?
Is it maintenance for that, or is it just building maintenance?
No, it's for that area. They have people come in, they redo the plantings, they
spread mulch, things like that,
Trim
yes,
everything.
can we go with that? I
But
mean,
we
and
don't
it's-
do
I
it,
think
it's
that's
only, we only do that, we only do that if it's an override.
yeah, I'm happy with where it is now, which is, if the override passes, yes, we continue to do that. If it doesn't,
Then sorry.
I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
memorial goes a year without great maintenance, but we still have library service and police
Correct.
officers, you know.
And there are some gift accounts that
Yeah.
if we needed to do things at the memorial, we could probably.
Okay, so that
Just
one,
get
we'll
the
leave
kids
that one
to-
as is.
Yes, we keep this here.
Dylan, were there other items on
Other
this one?
things in that category?
Technology.
So,
Yeah.
again, technology, is that just a monthly bill that we're paying? Because,
Now, the whole 39A should be in there, because we have
Yeah, so, yes.
Northeast IT on retainer, we spend all of this.
Okay. So
All right.
that's
But
another-
I was thinking I'd have a time to, you know, try to find a
So-
different. Yeah,
Should it
we
be the
should
same in
know.
both then, again?
So that was just a contract.
Yes, so,
Then the contract is 39?
Yep.
yeah, so that's pushing that one over
Well, it's
also.
one contract that's 35, and then
Okay.
all the other things, Zoom.
Okay.
Town reports? Is it-
And
is it
annual
one-
town meeting costs.
Is it, again, it's just different in the two, should it just be the same number? If it's the same report?
Right, but their budget,
Well-
we're trying to make them whole?
Yeah, the budget last year was $200.
And I added, because the other things came out of the select board budget were the postcards that get mailed out, that just got mailed out for annual town report, they seem to all go together, so I put them on the same line.
Okay. And our select board, to be fair, our select board expense account went from 4,500 down to 1,500 at the top.
Right.
So since we're not taking out of that, we kind of have to leave that.
Where,
Which of these numbers would you like, Becky? 1804 or
What's the
2245 or
number?
something rounder maybe?
25 is the
22,
reports, and the 10 is
25.
the last one
yeah,
there.
but where was the select board budget?
That is
22, what would you like?
There we go.
I'm sorry.
What number would you like there? 2245?
Yeah, that one was, and that was largely so we can go to the MMA
so-
or whatever, and we can
Right.
skip a
If you're
year
looking
MMA.
at the sum of the costs, you notice that
Exactly.
you're summing the percent change. It doesn't matter, but that's why you're getting an extra $10.
Ah, thank you.
So that's,
That's included.
your totals don't do that, but across the sides are picking up those percentages.
Okay,
So it's 2245 or,
Yeah, yeah.
2245, thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Okay.
So is that everything we want to discuss in that first chunk, the select board chunk?
Yes.
Beautiful.
The other ones have fewer that I have questions about.
All right, so next one is the total accountant. This one, there's really not a lot to talk about. There's nothing in the upper numbers. The accounting expense came down, but that's again, that's the same in the base and the top budget.
Right, but did it come down so we could make a number lower? Do we really spend $10,000? Is that what that number needs to be?
We will,
2 years ago, the last year that we have is 85.
we are spending less.
So we can leave it at 8.
Okay.
And we're in a place where we have to make cuts in the handful of places where we
Right.
have some discretionary.
Well, I know, but I didn't know if the accountant expense, if we're paying,
That's true. It could be include software or something that we don't have a choice of yet.
right,
Um,
I don't know what.
so
Because the 8,000 that she said was
Yeah.
the Vadar of 7,500 plus a few other little software,
So
so.
Becky, if
seems
you could make a
reasonable.
note on that particular line to between now and Wednesday, check in to make sure that the 8,000 is a number that we can live with.
That was their budget, they gave
It
it
was,
us.
okay.
Oh, okay.
They get it.
Then-
Perfect.
They're having
They-
great
they-
They
goals.
appreciated, you know, they knew we were dealing with.
Yeah,
Okay,
perfect.
perfect. If they're already telling us that, then we will not try to put any more money back in there. All right, that's it for accountant. Next up is assessors. It looks like assessor's expense has the $112 is the base budget, and then we're adding another $1,200 back in for the upper budget. If I'm remembering correctly, was that for a laptop for him?
And he, we can cross it out, he's gotten the laptop fixed, the main
Oh, beautiful.
issue with it, that he was having
So we
trouble.
don't need the 12.
So we can drop the 1,200?
Yes,
Great.
Perfect. So we will do that.
So when it comes to to that assessor's admin assistant, again, I know these are tiny numbers, but it's 4.9, is that because he is eligible for a step this year?
yes.
Gotcha.
And how many hours is that?
14.
Because if we start thinking of more cuts, we need to know how many hours people are working and whether we can cut
Yeah.
them. So it's not benefited, so that's already under that. Okay.
All right.
So we're seeing the assessor's expense line down to $112.
He was okay with that.
Okay.
The computer support, is there a reason why there's two different numbers? Why we have the extra 1,700 if the override passes? Is there something they
Yeah.
want
Do we know
that
what
they'll
that?
do without?
Do we know what that $8,600 goes for? That's an awful lot for computer support unless it's software.
That is the, it's not the Access GIS, it's the other piece of the system. I'm forgetting the name of it. It's the backend, CIS, the backend database.
Okay,
That's what that
that
one
would-
is primarily for. I
Which-
can't explain the difference between the two.
Yeah, which again
But-
leads me to believe that the actual cost of that is probably the $8,600, and it doesn't,
It doesn't make sense, we have to either buy it or
Yeah,
don't.
so-
It's-
So maybe you, Becky, if you want to confirm with them,
Yeah.
or
That would be
just
great.
dig into that line, and then we'll just have, whichever it is, be the same in both.
Yeah. All right, and then
I'm gonna change it to the higher number just so that we have the worst case scenario.
the updating tax maps, which shows a small, I'm assuming it's a 5% reduction in the base budget, and then that money goes back in the override budget. that work, is that contracted work or is that work that's done by the town?
I'm sorry, which line?
The updating tax maps, line 40?
Oh, that is done by a contractor, and that, really, the 2,400 should stay on that one.
That's what I was
Okay.
thinking, yeah, okay. All right. So that, and then,
And the 9,000 is for the revow. So
Yeah.
that's why we
Right,
kept
so
that
we knew
full.
that,
we
right.
knew that was,
We can change that.
all right, so that's the assessor's chunk. Any questions on that before we move on to the next one?
Nope.
Okay. Tax collector treasurer. So it looks like the treasurer collector director salary is going up by 4.9, and that's going to be step plus COLA. The 108P is staying steady at 1,000. The payroll clerk line item looks like we're having a reduction of 18% in that one.
She cut about 1,300 out of her whole, because she hadn't been, used those hours for a long time.
Okay, great.
She was trending lower, so.
Do you know what the total weekly hours are?
I think it's 6 or 8.
Sorry, just come back to the assessor really quick.
It's
It looks
not
like,
weekly though.
come back to the assessor, I have his budget here that he presented and it is the 86.
Yeah,
Just so
That's what I
we
thought.
need to go back to
So-
him.
Great, thank you.
so we should go back to 86
Yeah.
on the computer support.
Yep.
Is it 8600?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
0.65.
I know, it was like 8.4, I think.
So the government and standard board.
One before it, actually, the expenses, so that's another, that was one of the other ones that, 25,750 was tier 2.
Mm-hmm.
Tier 1 was 23,000. Expenses, I don't know if we can cut them or if this should be one that's the same in both scenarios, so.
Well, if you look, the budget request was actually just 23. The FY26 budget, 23.
Okay.
So
I
we
think
should,
we can just go to 23 on
the
that one.
blue one shouldn't be more than 23 then, right?
Yeah. Well, all I'm seeing there is we do 20 and 23 unless, because I think that's one where there is some wiggle room. I mean, we give them 20, that's what we got,
I
make it
mean,
work.
is 20 the right one then?
So I think 20 is the right lower one, but we want to just put 3,000 instead of 5,750 in that middle chunk.
Okay.
All right, and then the next one, collector treasurer expenses.
Wait, I'm sorry, the number you said, so if we do 3,000, so it's 23?
23 total at the end, yeah.
23.
Okay.
So then you're in Gatsby.
Yeah. Yeah, so then Gatsby. Is this another one where we need to have the whole amount in the left one?
And then, my confusion, is the whole amount 7,000? I believe it is.
Well, because I'm looking at the actuals, and we got 3,000 and 5,500 for the actuals for the last 2 years.
And the budget request is only 3,500, so why is it 7,000?
That was their 26.
I think the 27 request was 7,000.
Is there more reporting being done, or, I don't know if there's a,
Yeah, every 2 years is a reporting year where she has to pay him.
All right, so,
So consistent, she,
I remember that like there was like odd years where we had to like
right,
do double or something.
So we need
Yeah.
7 in both budgets is what we're doing.
Yeah.
or if she has 3,500 in both budgets, then every 2 years she pays 7,000. I think it's
What is
she
the
was
other
doing,
budget
But then, but she didn't, never mind.
no,
Yeah, no, so we need 7.
promise
this
is
year,
not
so-
revolving, so she can't hold 1 year's
Yeah,
3,500
no,
into.
so-
right,
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we need to have 7 in both of those 2 budgets, so we're gonna slide the rest over.
Post can't change, I'm sure.
No.
Okay.
Maybe people come to town to pick up their mail.
So next up we have
No, tax titles at the time, we want more of those, so if we have an override, but they just do the minimum, is that like other things where you don't have to fight about tax titles, but then you sometimes do?
Right,
Okay.
it varies, she just had a big one come in.
Okay,
I think having at least the 3,000, she can start processing stuff as she needs to, and then she can, come to the finance committee if she has to, if something's really hot.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other questions on the treasurer line item before we move on?
Mm-mm.
All right. Next up is town clerk. So we have,
I know the town clerk salary is a tiny difference, but town clerk salary is supposed to be same as treasurer collector, right? The increase?
That's what she has told me before, and can I give her a 4.9% increase?
So that has again, there's always gonna be wiggle room in some of these if we have to start doing stuff, but how we've done it in the past is the town clerk salary, because it's an elected position, gets the same pay increase as the treasurer collector. I know we're looking at just fractions of a
I
percent, but
remember that. Okay, so that's gonna go up to 4.9%.
so that'd be next.
What's the total number?
1 second.
We got 1,800 for 3%, so that's 600 per about $1,200 more. 1,195 for the year.
Okay, so it's
For the extra
64,504.
no,
64.
0.03%.
64,504, Becky?
You're saying you're going from 3% to 4.9% though, right?
No. We're going from 4.6
No, it's at 4.6.
4.6.
It's just supposed to be 4.9.
Is this goes to?
No, it's at 3% right now.
No, it's $8,000.
Mine says
Yeah.
4.6.
Oh, you're right.
But anyway, it's
So that must have
4.9.
already changed it, yeah. Okay.
So the correct salary should be 64,504, is that right?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, that's $1,200 difference, okay. Or 1,180. All right. And then town clerk, the rest of those aren't changing, and
And we already know why.
we know why, so we're not gonna worry about those, right? Anyone, any other questions about the town clerk chunk?
Just from Fridays till today's, Becky's file, the archival and updates changed from some number down to 0. I just want to make sure that that's okay.
Wendy asked me to eliminate those
Great.
two.
Okay, great.
That is beautiful. We will take it. All right. Next up is the town election. Now, this one, we have, you know, state and federal elections this time. So this is a year where we have to have more money in there than we would on odd years.
And when Wendy advised putting the 2,800 into the override, she said, you know, that she and Maureen can work extra,
Okay.
extra time, but they'll put in extra hours to make up for it.
I mean, I don't love that as being the answer to our problems, but it's the year we're in, and I appreciate them saying so. So are we comfortable then, in that case, leaving it as is for 65 and 66 election wages and everything? Everybody good?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it definitely increased because it's a big election year, so
Yeah.
I wasn't uncomfortable going back to last year's.
Yes, no,
Oh, absolutely.
We can't run an election in the state and have an election for that.
One election for the price of three elections for the
3
price of one.
elections for
Yeah,
the price
we
of
have-
one.
we have to-
Flip that and reverse it.
All right, so that's elections. Next up is committees and boards. It looks like we have a couple here where the lower budget is slightly lower, and then we're bumping back up in the higher budget. Starting off with the Conservation Commission. Is this just a cut to the Conservation Commission because we asked everyone to cut? Is that why it's down?
Yes, well,
Okay.
she had talked about it, and then today she sent me a note saying she wanted a 20% cut, so she was gonna go to 1,000.
So I guess one of my questions is, if we're tracking left onto the actuals, have we just not been giving that
Yeah.
out? Why are we looking at $273.24 and no dollars in 25? And so is that a stipend for the Conservation Commission? Is that what that is? Or is that an expense on item for them?
I'm sorry,
We're talking,
this is all their money that they have to spend on whatever they spend it on.
okay, so it's their operating
Yeah,
budget.
if they have to
Okay.
do a newspaper ad, which they rarely do, or if they have to,
Okay.
so
This
So
is
that
one where
number
we have
could be
quite
lower?
a bit of wiggle room on. It's not a giant number, but it sounds like we could come down to $500 and still be
Right.
more than they spent in the last 2 years on that line item. And if
Right.
in worst case scenario they had a real need, they could come to the town and.
Right.
and I think they do have a real need that they haven't come forward with. They really need a computer, but they're not gonna buy it this year.
Okay.
So we wanna put $750 in the override version and get it up to $1250, so they have a little more room if they get the override, right?
No, I
Um,
was gonna, she said 1,000 in
So-
the base and 250 in the override.
I would
So
go
we're doing
lower, honestly. I would go
we're
like
doing-
500 in the base and 500 in the override, so that
Okay.
if the override passes, okay, you have 1,000. If it doesn't, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to make do with $500 this year.
Right,
That's what we
that
got
makes
to do.
sense.
Is that okay, Jen?
Yeah.
Jen's right there.
Yeah,
Jen?
we have MACC annual dues, and we have conservation restriction boundary signs, and educational mailings we could forego, but we were trying to do the 20% to be our little bit that we can contribute to.
Mhm.
So the MACC signs, dues and signs, what's the total on those that you have to do?
Oh, yeah, I don't have that in my head, but 500 would be too low to cover both those things.
And where's it been
Do
paid?
we want to do
I have
that?
a feeling it's like,
Do you know where it's been paid from before?
She said
Because
she would do 1,000.
I know, I think some of our things are hitting on we have multiple accounts, so I think some of our regular operating has been coming out of our dues line that we have when people pay permit fees. That's supposed to just cover the posting in the newspaper and conservation expenses connected to the permitting process. So I think some of our operating has been coming out of that,
Yeah,
so,
so that helps.
but it's not,
But it's not supposed to.
The operating shouldn't, but your maintenance, those newspaper ads.
Right, but Jen made a
Okay.
conscious decision for 1,000, so
Yeah, we
Let's-
should give her,
let's put it at 1,000. I mean, she knows what signage and
So-
dues and everything else she needs.
So the thousands are base, but in terms of our override, are we going to keep it at 175? Are we going to go to 250, 200?
250.
250, okay, so 250 will be our override number. So the overall is not going to change, but
Yeah.
we save a couple dollars on the
$76.
pay. I'll take it.
We'll take it.
So we're saying, 1,000 is the base budget. We added 250 to the override budget to 1,250.
Yeah, so the 1250 and the last column stays the same. We're just shifting around the numbers a little bit within the two columns.
Okay.
Alright.
Next up is the Historical Commission, and it looks like with them, that's just a straight $200, which is what it's been in the past, although I'm seeing a fairly large
Yeah.
actuals there.
And there was 1550 in the tier 1 last week.
It was.
I was
15.
confused by this.
It was higher, it reverted to 200.
Okay,
So I don't know what was driving that, but maybe that's why.
so do we need to put more money back in then in the base there, or $200?
Is
out
it
there?
some expenses were around the graves that they are responsible for? The graves,
Great
you
Memorial
know.
Library, or
They
is that
have
what
their
the?
own budget. The Graves has a $40
No, I know, but the,
budget.
but for did the Historical Commission throw something at the graves fixing up or something? Was there
Yeah,
some?
they might have a couple years, because it was in FY25 that the actual bumped up.
So
But I-
200 might be okay. If they can't do that, they can't do that, right? There's no other general expenses as far as we know.
Okay, so I honestly, we have to be a little brutal from time to time, so I think we keep that where it is. All right, zoning board expense. Looks like the actual for last year is 822, and so the 550 wasn't enough. They're asking for more. Our base is 658, and then 108 in the override for 766. That sounds reasonable to me all around. Anyone have any?
It sounds fine.
Perfect. All right, next up is the planning board salary, and that looks like that is the same from last year to this year. which is what we
Which is
did.
what we decided for those
Decided
stipended
for those
things,
stipends, yeah.
right?
Planning board expense, looks like they've been asked for 800. The actual does seem to bounce around a little bit. And for this one, looks like we are putting 322 in the base and 478 in the upper. Again, this is an expense item. I feel comfortable leaving that as is. Everyone else feels
Mhm.
okay. Moving on from that,
Finance committee expense.
finance committee expense.
I didn't know we had any.
You guys have apparently.
We can
150.
zero that
Make
out.
it zero.
Well, you're
Yeah.
already overdrawn because your state finance committee thing is now $170.
Oh, so we have to pay that?
Yes.
So let's put 170 in there.
170.
And zero at the change, and 170 across the board.
Why don't we put the 175 that's there in to give a tiny bit of wiggle room in that?
In case they increase it.
Just
Just to pay for the stamp to put
yeah, I
on
mean,
it.
Right.
just in general, because I'd rather have $5 in an account than negative 1 penny in
Okay.
an account. Those are two wildly different things.
Okay?
All right. So that was that one, and then telecom is zero across the board, so we're gonna ignore that one. Telecom expense. What is that expense for? The 53? Does that have to do with our relationship with Comcast?
Yes, with FCAT, that's what.
The FCAT, okay, right, FCAT. And their budget's not changing. We're confident that the 53 is okay.
And is this always directly tied to the PEG access money? It just happens to be the same number, or is there a relation to that? Or does it have to be that number?
Yes, I think it does.
I think it's because of the reimbursement, effectively.
I had never connected those two before, so it'd be good to know that.
Tommy, is that more like an assessment, that 5,300?
It has to be written in the warrant article, the budget.
Yeah, so it's like an assessment,
On
that's
the
just
budget article.
what we pay.
Included.
It's what we
Okay.
pay.
All right, we're to buildings now.
We're getting there.
Buildings, woohoo! All right, next, first up under buildings is town office operation. Looks like that's been 7,000 across the board. I am a little skeptical on the actuals being exactly 7,000. But anyways, looks like what we're, in this budget at least, we're planning on bringing that base down to 55, or 56, sorry, and then 1,400 in the override to bring it back up to the 7,000. What does that cover?
This is town office operations. This little bit of money is, I use for maintenance of when the elevator goes and the fire alarms get inspected and.
Okay, so this is one that is not an assessment or a bill, this is more of a pot of money for those things.
Yes.
That being said, means that there is some wiggle room. I feel comfortable leaving 56 and 14 with the override amount being what it should
But
be.
so again, before we decide on that, there are, and again, not knowing this, but if you're paying a fee for an elevator inspection, that has to be done timely. You have to have fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
If those are all fees that we're paying, we can't.
Yeah. So I guess that's the question, is that stuff as non-negotiable, or is that stuff that we need, we could potentially,
Or some of both.
yeah.
Right, because if it's some of both, that's fine, but if this really is, those
Oh.
fees were obligated
Wendy's
to
in the waiting
pay.
room, can you add it? Sorry.
Well, that's all maintenance, it can't just be contractual obligations, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's
Some of
maintenance,
it's-
so
okay.
the toilet could go.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
So
you
again,
don't
like,
know for sure what's gonna
we
happen.
would be taking a little bit of a risk by having it lower, but we could take that risk, whereas some things we don't have a choice there.
Correct.
So I guess Becky, really, since this is one of your items, are you?
It's a tough one. We're we're overdrawn in maintenance all the time.
Yeah.
But, we can pick and choose and we can do better and we can call George and we can work around it if we have to.
So I guess an option is we could also, so sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, just with the fire extinguisher, is there anything that our fire department can do? Do we have to contract someone outside to do it?
Well, these were just examples, I don't know how much any of that costs.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
just,
Yeah,
there are things that have to be done on yearly basis, every 2 years, every 5 years. I don't really know what's falling into that, but my question was more, are these things that just have to be done, or is there wiggle room here before we
Right.
commit to cutting it? Because it's been 7,000 for
At least a
the
couple
last 3 years.
That seems a little suspect, that it's exactly that amount.
Yeah, is it a fixed cost or a flexible cost?
So my guess is it's 7,000 because we're spending more than 7,000
Right.
to deplete that fund and then find
Right.
somewhere else to spend the money, or pull the money from. So, again, back so we don't spend the entire night on this one.
Yeah.
We could shift a little bit. We could make it 1,000 in the override and push 400 to the left if that makes us a little more comfortable.
Let's do that.
Just the one thing I want to say is we're already at
We haven't done-
14. Almost $20,000 of money we've added back into our base budget without
Yep.
having to take anything out. and
Right,
our
which
base
is
budget's
why I
already,
wanted to know, like, where we have hours,
Yeah.
where we have to really think about hours of people.
But what I'm hearing is that there sounds like we will move 400 to the left and make it an even 1,000 in the override, and that's a little bit more comfortable for
Okay.
building expenses. Okay.
No new pencils.
Yeah,
Just have everyone go to the banks before they come in and bring pencils from the banks.
Yeah.
That's a good thing about the MMA
Pretty much.
trade show.
And then the
Alright.
energy, is that really something we can cut?
No.
No,
So, yeah, we'll do the
It's
same.
the bill, right? It's the heat bill.
so it's 6093.
well,
I mean, I don't even know.
We can turn the thermostat still down, but this building, I don't think it's gonna save anything.
No, I mean, the electricity usage is gonna fluctuate a little bit, but not by much. It's
I mean,
mostly
do we
driven by
know
the
what
cost.
the energy has been
Well,
year
the-
to date? So
we
far
were
this
over
year?
last year. On this line, it was 713. So we know,
So should we put 713 in there? Cause that's the realistic number,
Yeah.
or more realistic?
All right, let's do that.
And so the thing to keep in mind is that everything we're doing now is coming out of free cash and stabilization. Because there is no more money in this base budget. Everything we're doing now is making it so we have to pull more out of our reserves.
Right, but it might mean
And-
that we had to be realistic about, like,
No, absolutely.
in our base budget, we might have hours cut.
But the point I'm
Right.
making on items like this is whether it's sitting in free cash or sitting in this thing, we're gonna spend that on electricity, and either that means that the finance committee is having a meeting, and we're doing a special town meeting to move money around, or we put a little more money in that account, knowing it's in our free cash line, and that will return to free cash if we don't use it. I mean, I know we can't do it with everything, but electricity, gotta keep the lights on.
Yeah, I mean, there's just certain things that you can't cut.
So again, the question becomes, is our item there then $6,093, or is it $7,013? Because we
Just
need
make
to.
it even 7,000.
Even 7,000, okay. That works.
No, it just adds some input errors for everybody, all the way through.
All right. Town telephone expense, that is no longer there, that is up in the
Yeah.
other line item, so we don't need to worry about that one. It's also zero, so we don't have to worry about it. Next up is Graves Library Building. This is a flat 43.4, and it's flat in all of them, but I'm looking at the actuals, and it looks like it's a little lower than that. Can we drop that down to 4,000 maybe?
Or
Or maybe
20,
25.
500.
Or, yeah, 25 or 3,000 or something.
Is there some reason, I mean, that was the budget request, but is it based on anything that's coming up?
it was, Wendy maintains and pays the bills for the heat and everything that, over there, and she maintains the line.
But the last 2 years seem the same and well below that.
I would feel comfortable putting 3,000 in there, given that both of the last 2 years are
Great.
under that. And again, we're in a place where we have to cut some stuff in the base budget, so 3,000 it is. All right.
And I think George really went through his budget. And I did give it to him, so he'll get back to me tomorrow if there's any
Okay.
problems. He looked at it today.
But otherwise, you're okay. He and you are okay with the two lower and upper budgets in that one.
For the garage.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the highway garage energy is flat. Now that one again, I'm looking at the actuals. It looks like we
Much
are not
different.
using nearly that much in the highway garage energy.
But, I mean, we looked one year it was 7,100, right?
No, that
That's
was
the budget
the
request.
FY '25 budget.
Yeah, I think we should reduce it.
I think we should too.
So 5,000?
4?
4?
Well, it was 33 last year.
So what's his heating source in there, do we know? Because if it's oil, we're gonna be wanting to increase it.
Well, maybe increase it from his actuals, but not necessarily from his request.
No, but I'm just saying, you know.
5 then.
5. I'd be comfortable with 5. That pulls $2,100 back out of that budget
Yeah.
line. With the caveat, Becky, please run that by him, and if he comes back and says, "Oh, here's the compelling reason why either the actuals are wrong," or
Because that's a double over 2 years ago, so even if oil's double it was 2 years ago, which it very well could be,
Yeah.
we still should be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, no, I agree. So 5,000 in that one. So that's minus 2,000. That's the right direction.
I mean, I don't think we're gonna get to double, but you know,
Yeah.
that's plenty.
We're moving towards it, that's for sure.
We're in the wrong direction, that's for sure.
All right, then moving down to the Sunderland Public Library budget operating. So the Sunderland Public Library, we asked them to reduce 20, and they were one of the few departments that actually came back to us and gave us like real aggressive numbers. I don't want to penalize them for having done that because they came to us and said, "Oh yeah, we can run this on a shoestring and donations." Because of course the library is going to say that because they're wonderful people who will run it on a shoestring and donations if they have to. That being said, I don't feel comfortable slashing their budget by that much in the base budget. That is.
I mean, so that included, for example, cleaning the library one less day of the week. Like, there's things that they can actually do. They can say,
Yes.
we don't have to clean it as often. I think it was thoughtful. I think if they were gonna get anything back, they want it in salaries, they don't want it in this.
And that's why this one is so drastic, is because they heard 20%, and rather than doing 20% across the board, they took half of their operating budget and then tried to keep
And I
positions
think
and salaries.
they think the library board, I'm on the library board, so
Yeah.
full disclosure. We thought that we could do that if a non-override budget, that's why it's back up, so we can actually clean more,
Yeah,
right? But it's
So,
literally flexible to say, we're gonna hire the cleaning company for less days a week, we did that
Right.
before.
and again, it's a wonderful situation that you guys are in, that you have the Friends of the Library who can help you fundraise.
Right.
Right.
But
George can't have a bake sale on the side of the road to pay the electric bill.
maybe he should before he plows our driveway, or sidewalks.
But also, this is part of what we have to
But
do
we
to
have
adjust
the
it.
issue of the disproportional cut that will jeopardize our waiver of state aid, which we will need to file if there's no override.
So I guess a question on that is, what number do we need to bring that up to in the non-overriding budget so that we don't get decertified? Because as far as I'm concerned, talking about having this library lose access to this
Right.
WMRs and all the other things is on par with like losing half of our
Right.
police department or something like that. And so what Lauren and others, what would the number need to be for us to know that we are still able to meet our state minimums?
Well, it's relative to
You
the
were
other
gonna have
departments.
to do the test to the fact that we were cut in line with other town departments. So you're looking at the budget, I think that's the point you're gonna have to tell us
And
what's
just
gonna fly.
to be clear, is that overall?
So it's not just to add to that, it's not a specific dollar amount, but exactly as Lauren is saying, it's just gonna have to be, the town is gonna have to demonstrate, in addition to what we will file for the library, that the cuts to the library were proportionate to other town departments.
And to be clear, that's overall cuts, that includes salaries and whatever, not just this operating department.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think, people are going to like Heidi's going to a workshop on like, how do you actually file for this?
Mhm.
So we'll have more information, so the
Yeah,
library's
yeah.
talking about this, so they may get back to us, Wednesday or Monday and say, we have to do it this way.
Okay, so maybe we put a
But
pin
they're
in talking
exploring.
about the library for right now, because we'll hopefully have a little more information.
Does that make sense, Heidi, to put a pin in the library stuff?
Yeah, Catherine and I are doing that webinar Wednesday afternoon, and I will be at the meeting Wednesday night.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
and I spoke to Catherine this afternoon, she was gonna try to make it, but I don't think she could.
This
Right.
is one of the talking points, though, to justify the override.
100%,
Like, we
yeah.
have to show across the whole board
Right.
that this is why we're doing the override. 'Cause
Right.
We still have to, now I have to cut like $85,000 out of the budget. I love the library, I use it all the time, just saying that this is the whole exercise,
Right,
and it's
yeah.
gonna be painful.
Right, and there's, again, there's ways, you know, that we can justify some things because we can, you know.
I vote we keep it as it is for now until we can
Yeah.
figure out.
Yeah,
what we
exactly.
So
cut
the only
budget
thing that
down.
I'm concerned with is line 93, that
The energy one, yeah.
the energy one has 0.
So again, that's part of the overall library cuts in order for them to get them in place, and I believe, if you were correcting me, library books if I'm wrong, but I believe that it's because they're planning on spending money from the Friends of whatever on that line item as well as operating expenses.
Wait, which line item is that?
The library energy was zeroed out. That doesn't make sense to me.
She didn't
No,
put
we did
in
not
for
cut
it.
energy, that's actually out of the library budget, I.
Oh, it's 'cause it's the town
I thought that was paid by the town. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why, because we don't pay the bill, the
Right,
town
that's
does.
what it is. So,
Yeah.
okay, then we don't need to have that in the
the
ballot
override.
question then. So the override number should be zeroed out also.
Correct.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
But that means that number
Okay.
should be 4433.
No, that means the
No.
number is 0 because
It's
that
Because
means
it's
zero.
that.
already in the
all the way
budget somewhere
across.
else.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Next up is public safety complex, and that looks like same deal. We're taking some money out of the energy. The energy probably needs to be flat because you need energy to do it, but his
Well,
other one probably.
I mean, let's look at his energy. Wait,
I mean,
am I
his-
on the wrong one?
I'm sorry, where are we?
94,
94, 95. His actuals for the last 2 years look, again, a little suspiciously on the nose, but the actuals were at 15,280.
But I mean, it looks,
Well, it's.
yeah, but when you look at, I mean, when you look at line 94, they spent 17,000, 18,000, 15,000, and then we're putting them down to 12.
Yeah, no, I'm talking 95 sort of. Both of them are tied together.
Yeah.
The way I feel about it is the energy one we don't have a lot of wiggle room on because it's going to be whatever the electric bill is. Like we pay for it, we either that or
Right,
turn
but
off
it might be
electricity.
cleaning, like they don't
Yeah, the
bother to
other
strip
one
the
is
floors
where
or
he's going to
whatever.
have to figure out how do I do the normal maintenance and whatever on this building for slightly less this year. And yeah, you cut out some cleaning, you cut out a couple of things, and it's fine.
Right, but okay.
So what I'm saying is the electricity one, we should push the whole thing into the
So
the base
95
budget.
needs to be 15,280.
Or 15 at least.
I'd say 15. 15 seems, I mean, it's apples and oranges at that point, but, or 61 half another. But yeah, we push at least 3,000.
I mean, you could argue that the line before that could maybe go down a tad because
And that's what I'm saying, is that
it's
like,
the
if
cleaning,
those
it's
two are
the-
there, the energy's the one we shouldn't be taking money out of, the other one is the one we could take more. So we could take another 3 out of his operating, I'm assuming that's an operating line, the public safety complex line is just,
it's the toilets and the, you know, it's all the same things.
yeah.
They don't clean the floors as much, just like the library's not gonna vacuum as much. right?
10,000?
So that one, yeah, I would say we would do 10,000 in the base.
And then keep the other one at 13,642-ish.
Yeah, so we'll put 3,500 into the middle thing. So 10
Okay.
and 35 for a total of 1,350. Which is okay. And the public safety complex energy one, we're just making that 15 across
Mhm.
with nothing in the override because we have to pay the bills. All right, town building maintenance. This one is $12,000 and has been, but last year's actuals are 26,600. How'd that happen?
That's the story.
Wow. And that was, as you were saying, because of repairs to the elevator and stuff like that. Okay.
And the bathrooms.
Yeah.
So did we
Wait, so
check
this is
off a
kind
lot
of
on the
in here.
maintenance list last year?
Well,
Or is it the same thing?
I mean,
as
what's
same-
it looking at, what's the running total looking like so far this year?
I think we're probably at budget, yeah, we're at budget, we're over budget. At 12, we're at 12.
Alright,
So that has to be 12, I don't think we can cut
But are
that.
you combining the town office operation and the town office maintenance? Because you were also talking about maintenance stuff coming out of the operation things. So,
And that's one of those ones where when you do the one budget, you start to pull from wherever.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think neither budget is sufficient for this building.
So then we need to go back up to 12 for both of them.
Yeah, that one we have to
Get
do
by.
both of them. We can't do 6, is what we're saying. We don't really have that option. Do we want to do 10 and 12 and then another 2? Because again, I mean, like, at some point we
Put
have
some
to
stuff
be making some cuts in
Right,
the base
and I
budget.
mean, right, so you can cut down on cleaning people, stuff like that
Yeah.
here too.
So we'll say 10 is not our base, and then another 2 for a total of 12 flat on that. Okay. Energy contingency, that's just 7,500 across the board. That makes sense to have there.
But we just did up everyone's energy.
Does that mean we don't need
We didn't up
contingency?
anyone's energy. We restored people's
Yeah,
energy.
alright.
So
Yeah, and, as you see, the next line, the municipal buildings line, it's 75, and I was at 96.5 last year.
yeah.
And how are we looking this year?
Not so good.
Okay.
I just want to be realistic about things that we can't cut and then
Right.
make the cuts where we can.
Right,
I don't want to pretend like we're going to run things
Yeah,
more
I
efficiently than
think
we can.
we have to put the 100 on that one in the, or 90 in that one, and 10 in the upper, something like that. I mean,
but I mean, so, let's look at just reality here, right? This is energy for the building. Are they gonna sit here with no air conditioning?
Yeah.
You know, if.
Well, that's me, I mean, this one they won't work as much, so it won't matter.
Right, but what I'm saying is that
That's what I'm
energy
saying.
consumption won't be changing whether we have
Yeah, I think it needs
an
to be,
override or not.
if our budgets are coming in closer to 100,000, I think it should be 100,000. And that
Yeah.
should just be our budget. Hopefully you don't spend extra money because we had an override, we just spend 100,000, that's just how much it costs.
Right,
It's the
So-
same amount whether we have an
I agree.
override.
So are we all on the same page of just 20,000 to the left, 100,000 to that item?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not
I mean-
great.
Well,
but-
I was, yeah,
But then we're just gonna go back and make some cuts, and I think that's clear.
well, because these
But we
are
can't cut
not
that.
people.
Yeah,
We can't cut it,
yeah,
but,
because then
but-
it's an unrealistic budget if we say we're gonna spend, the budget 7 is 1,200.
It's
Right,
just hard
and-
that we're trying to fix historically bad budgets in the same year that we're trying to balance cuts. But this is,
Correct.
yeah, this
Like,
really sucks,
these
but.
budgets have been bad for years.
Yes.
right?
All right,
All right, I'm gonna keep us moving because it's already 8 o'clock, and we've only gotten through 1 page out of 3.
and only Nate can stand up on soapboxes in this committee. We can't
Third of the
have
way
more than
there.
one of us.
All right, next up we have police. So police chief wages, that's contractual, we can't do much with that. Police chief Quinn bonus, that is 0. Full-time officer Quinn bonus, also 0. Full-time officer wages,
This is where we can do the biggest cuts, because this is what we're proposing
Yep.
here, is that we can't do some of these things, right? Where was the part-times?
We had to, we had to say the part-time has to be zeroed, right? Did we
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
that?
Where is the part-time?
It's the
Couple
1222. It's line 111.
yeah, so part-time wages is brought down, the base budget has 1222 and nothing in the override budget.
But we were also saying that we could bring that down.
Honestly, I think our base budget is 0 part-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he said he could do that. We are already having a hard time finding complete part-time officers, and what that's gonna effectively do is gonna leave us
We
some
won't have
gaps in
coverage on
service,
more days
But that's
regularly.
what we're already on the table, so.
Yeah,
So what do we do for the override? Do we keep it at the 32 or
No, 0.
20?
for
No,
the
I would-
part-time wages,
I-
0 part-time
For the
wages.
override.
The
No,
override.
if it-
Oh, I'm sorry.
What I would do is I would shift that 122222 to the right.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
it's not in the base budget, but it is in the override budget. If we pass the override budget, they do get the part-time wages so that we can provide the coverage gaps that people are
We
looking
want
for.
to try to keep it to actual
So-
25 to 17.
Well, I think he says wants to reduce part-time anyway,
well,
Okay,
or it's hard to find them anyway and whatever.
they've all left.
Yeah.
okay.
Because of post and the way they do it now, there are a hot commodity that are hard to find, and all the towns in the area are fighting over the 4 of them that exist. Maybe I'm drinking a little bit, but not by much. Okay, so that number we can shift to the right. That is helpful. That's $12,000.
Yeah, I just want to check. Yeah, I just want to check on that. That means we're not going to have coverage on the holidays and after midnight, a few nights a week? Is that?
So what he uses part-time coverage for is to exactly fill in the gaps that are that our shifts that they get for don't cover. So that would be leaves, sick time, holiday days. Like for example, right now officers get like 4th of July off. We pay part-timers to work 4th of July, so we have coverage that day. We wouldn't be paying them on those days. And then again, an officer's out for leave, gets in a car accident, something like that, we would no longer have backup for that. Now, we have backup, just to remind everyone that if we don't have coverage, that means that state troopers will cover us.
There's also a small budget for the police overtime, so if they want to pay a full-time officer on the 4th of July overtime, they can do that, but that's up to the chief how he's going to spend that overtime money.
Yeah, I just want to make a statement. I mean, I talked to some state police officers. They're not going to get there in a timely fashion some of the time or even all the time. And I'm just saying, you have
but we can't.
Listen, I'm going to finish, okay? If you have disturbance at 2 in the morning and it could get sketchy fast, you're not going to have someone there for a while. And I'm concerned about an accident that happens at 1 in the morning or midnight or a holiday. You know, I just want us to be careful, like we're not sacrificing safety for something else. I mean, it's really important. I want to make sure that, just let me finish.
Sorry.
I just want to make sure we don't lose, I don't want to make sure we don't lose that cadet in train either, because that's bad PR for the town. So, you know, let's just keep those things in mind. This is our police department. This is safety.
Yeah. I remember saying that we're the only town that has overnight police. Like a lot of the other towns don't have 24-hour service.
Well, Amherst has it.
Yes.
Well,
Towns of our
has
size.
it, and we're a college town.
Yeah,
To be serious, we're a college town.
So I'm just saying that we're already going beyond. And listen, I want to fund the police here as much as anybody. So, but we're trying to also argue for an override, and these are the things that are going to come as a consequence. So I think if we're going to realistically cut this budget, we're going to have to talk about that cadet for sure. Because I mean, we're not going to see much more big dollars. So
let's.
I hear you, but the cadet has a long-term implications. It means we don't get another cadet in 3 years because they're afraid we're going to cut it.
Right. But we also.
But we don't have the budget.
It means we don't have a library.
I hear you.
Or we don't have highway plowing. Right? I mean, that's also a safety issue.
If I can ask a clarifying
really
question.
difficult conversations and really difficult decisions to make, and none of them are easy and none of them are good, but they still have to be made.
Let me get a clarifying question about the part-time officer.
Safety's a serious one, just for the record. Safety's a serious one.
But it's also a serious one in terms of motivating the town to pass the override. So it's an item that we have to be able to balance. So just to make sure we're all on the same page, for the full-time officers' wages, last year's budget request was $414,933.
No, that was this year's.
That was this year's. So last year's was $362. Yeah, that was last year's request.
Okay.
Our base is a flat from last year. So the increase in the override line, that is like contractual obligations and stuff like that.
Well, the actuals in 25 is 353. Their presumed the increase is the other person.
So 47 is to retain the cadet.
Yeah. Well, so to be clear, we budgeted last year for the full-time officer who's just coming on now. We didn't pay him for all of last year, which is why the actual is low from last year, because we didn't actually pay him that money.
Right.
But we are, unless we cut him, on the hook for paying him for this year. So just to confirm, Becky, the $414,933 does not include the part-time officer, or does? Sorry, not the part, the cadet. Is the $32,336, is that the cadet's pay? Is that what we're looking at?
I think it's part of it. I think it's more than, I think he's probably 40.
I guess what I'm trying to get at, and I didn't ask the actual question I'm trying to ask, and I apologize, is does our base include that officer or not?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I will text the chief.
Okay. I think you're right that it doesn't, but I just want to make sure because those numbers are big enough of a difference between 362
Alright,
and
so
4.
we're.
So the cadet is in the
obligated-
override budget, not in the regular
Correct.
budget.
Yeah.
That was our intention-ish.
Yes.
So I think we're obligated to pay him up until February or something because
Oh,
of the
so maybe
union
it's more
contract.
Something like that, though.
You know, we've gotta pay him however long it takes him to get through this, you know, because he signed the papers and stuff.
Anyway, so we obviously will honor our contractual obligations, but won't bring him on if we don't pass an override. That's what we're,
That's what, yeah, 'cause- and in
That's
fact,
where
our
the-
last conversation, he wasn't even in the first wing of the override, he was only in the expanded override. So yes, so I think we're on the same page that the 32, 336 is what would be required in order to keep him on, because they're gonna be moving other things around.
But there's also COLAs for the officers.
There is, yes.
In this budget too. So I don't think 32 is.
there's some chance the cadet isn't in the override budget.
So yeah, if you could flag that one, Becky, as something to check with Chief Dimitropoulos about is what is our number with and what is our number without that officer for
So,
the wages.
And again, I could be remembering it wrong, but I think we're contractually obligated to pay him through February. I think this is the difference from February to July.
Of
First.
27. Okay.
Yes.
I think you're right, because he said,
Mm.
he texted, the academy officer is slated to continue until mid-January when the money runs out with the 5% cut.
Okay. Okay, so that 32,336 would be to keep him on for the rest of that year,
Yeah.
plus whatever, okay. Okay,
That makes sense.
that makes sense.
So
Sorry,
it
long get there.
definitely, that's him in the override.
Yes. So back down to part-time wages. We had a lot of discussion since this, but the last thing I heard was that we're moving the $12,222 to the override, because if the override doesn't passes, sorry, we don't have part-time officers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Similarly, down to,
Could we go up to?
oh sorry, so up to override,
Yeah,
overtime, yes, I was going the wrong direction, overtime.
So this is one where tier 1 had been 12,959, then it bumped up to 16,959.
Yeah.
So I mean, probably that, taking it down to the 9,833 or whatever that number is that what I'm looking
Yeah,
at?
90.
That was his number.
But that's probably about as low as we can go, because
Yeah.
there's always gonna be something that you're in the middle of doing in your shift ends and you don't go, Derek, see you
Yeah.
later, I'm walking out.
Well, and also.
Sorry, I'm gonna stop running after this cat burglar.
And not just in terms of their shifts, but also like the next day they have to go to court for something. That's often overtime hours. That's often outside of the scope.
Yeah, but
But the 16,959 is like the big override number, not the regular override number. So that's what the question is what that number was, what was the number?
It was 12,959.
It's not 16.
As the tier 1 override. And tier 2 was 16,959.
His budget was the 16,959.
Sure, yeah, exactly, the full
Right,
request.
so he got, and
Exactly.
we had said we're taking the 5% request.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I could see that coming down to like 15 for the upper number.
Okay.
So like 10 and 15. Does that sound good?
Well, it's a total of 16.9 now. You're saying 10 plus?
10 plus 5. So
Okay.
10 for the non-override plus an additional 5, bringing up to 15.
well, I mean, just leave it at the 9.
Yeah,
The 9, and then we add 5, and then we have,
Yeah, because
So 5, 167, or just 5 that even? I know numbers don't have to be nice and even, only on my guess.
well,
Well,
before it was
Nine
12,
even.
the number that he had, Dylan, 12.
959.
So that would be more like a 4,000, 3,000 increase in the lower budget.
Yeah, they spend.
So yeah, so we could do.
So we could do 3,000 as overtime, and then,
So we're talking like 12,000 total for the if it passes.
right,
Okay, I'm fine with that.
that's
now.
closer to what?
So
I'm
3,167.
I have no idea what you did.
So 9833 in the base, and then a total of, not increment, but a total of 12,000 in the override, sort of that difference.
So we're adding 3,167 in the override number.
2,162.
Yeah.
Sorry, 2,167, yeah.
Yeah, what's, you know.
$1,000 between friends.
Okay, and then, police clerk wages, that is, unless I'm mistaken, that's contractual,
Yes.
yeah.
So why is it
Well,
not in the,
It's not contractual,
No, it's
that's,
not, it's an employee at will, just like our.
Yeah,
administrative
but it's not in the base budget?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Did I accidentally zero that out?
Yes.
So it's
I think the
12,220.
chief said if they don't have a clerk, he has to do the clerking. So
Yeah,
having the clerk allows
and we pay him a lot more per hour than the clerk, so his time is more valuable not
Well,
to the clerk.
and the
Yeah.
thing is,
It's reduced services. Right.
Yeah.
It would be a drastic
Right.
step to take,
Yeah.
but it would,
right.
It's
and-
like all these other people who are hourly, it's 10 hours a
Yeah.
week, now it's 8, it's 8, it's now
Right.
6,
And
like
we
we
have
may
to
do
figure
that.
out whether,
We have to do any of that.
you know, if we're gonna start cutting, the chief's gonna have to be out there stopping speeders, and
Yeah.
he shouldn't be in there.
But 12,222 is how many hours a week? Doesn't sound like very many, 6?
I'm sorry,
What number are
The-
you
what
on?
are you?
Police clerk,
police clerk.
112
Police
is
clerk
the line.
wages.
It's
It is
46.
I'm sorry, 46.
47. She's 36 hours and 4 at the highway department. 36 in police.
Okay.
All costed out of this line? Or
No.
just 36 costed here and 4 out of the other one?
Okay.
It does look, it's a 5% increase though, if I look at the percent right. Why wouldn't it be a 3%?
Probably a step.
It's the position is
It's
part
a
of the
step,
steps.
Okay, gotcha.
And then the police department expense, it looks like, so it looks like his actuals for the last 2 years have been a little lower, but,
But they
everything
were
more
using
expensive.
COVID, I'm sorry, they were using ARPA money.
That's
a
true,
lot.
we did approve a bunch of things with ARPA under them, so that is a fair assessment. Okay, so
But
are we?
again, I understand, you know, they just had those floors redone and it's gonna be really nice to keep up with the floors and blah, blah, blah. But we also have to expect that they're gonna do reduced cleaning in a non-override world.
Yeah.
And they're gonna do, you know, some of those other reductions that,
So, I guess my question then is the amount that we have there enough, or should we push another $2,600 to the right and make it 40,000 in the not override, and, you know, $4,800 for the override number, so that we can make it a little bit harsher for the non-override passing on that, and again, they have to make up, you know, a couple less cleanings.
Well, that other cleaning stuff is under the public safety complex in line 94, right?
So his expenses are
I
gonna be
don't
a number
know.
of things,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna assume it's gonna be things like replacing radios that are broken, you know, traffic cones that get stolen by people off the side of the road, things like that. It's a bunch of just miscellaneous stuff, but there is probably some room for reductions if necessary. So again, the question I asked is it worth shifting a little bit more from base to the right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yes.
40 and then the remainder moving to the right?
Yes.
Or should we do the lowest year here is 38? Should we do 38?
I mean, just inflation wise, I think that 38 is gonna be 40 this year.
All right.
So
40 and 48.
40 and then we
You
push.
had me at the word inflation.
yeah, my guess is he came up with these numbers because of, you know, anticipated increases, but.
So 4815 is our override number, and that gives us the same total, but we've just shifted some money to the right.
I'm sorry, this is line 113?
113, yeah.
And what's your final,
So 40,000 is non-override,
okay,
4,815 is the amount of the override, and the total is the same 44,815. It's just we've shifted $2,600 to the right.
thank you.
Yep. All right, police department fuel expense. That one I say we just leave it as it is. The actual is a little low on 25, but that fluctuates a lot. And if we're being honest right now, fuel prices are subject to change over the course of the immediate
So,
now.
but is that change, did that change happen with the electric vehicle?
So it's a hybrid.
Well, I know,
Yeah,
but
you know. So they're still putting gas in it. They're using less.
I mean, there's probably not a lot of wiggle room in that gas budget, even for the
Yeah.
vehicles that aren't electric.
But again, he gave us these numbers, and I feel comfortable leaving those as are, unless you guys disagree.
Yeah, but if this doesn't pass, we're reducing hours and time anyways, so less cars on the roads. So
Yeah.
probably.
well, yeah,
No,
that's
that's a
probably
very,
okay.
very solid.
that is.
Yep.
Unfortunately true.
Cool. All right, that is police department. Let's move on to fire department. Chief's wages are stagnant. Or actually, it looks like, yeah, stagnant over last year, and last year he'd gotten a bump.
I think that was a correction because they didn't put the assistant chief in the budget in 25.
Right. Yeah, that is correct. Thank you.
That is correct, I remember that.
Yep. Okay, and then part-time firefighters, those have gone up by a little bit, 5.4%. Assistant chief wages is.
So the part-time firefighter wages went up largely because we increased the wages from $17 to $19.
Yeah.
$19 an hour. So
Right,
it
which
does
is-
include,
Yeah.
Which is still.
so if we're looking
pretty
for places that we need to
Actually-
cut or we're cutting hours, that's.
Actually, that is the clerk. Part-time firefighter really is their clerk. And she gets
So where is the
steps.
wages of everyone else?
She gets steps. They are down below.
Fire department wages.
Oh, okay.
So for the clerk, how many hours a week does she work? Like, is there wiggle room there?
I think I don't know exactly, between 15 and 20.
Okay.
I think it's 18.
Right.
Can I ask a global fire department question? That's not a great question, but, so police, if you don't have them, state police back you up. As I learned a couple weeks ago, EMS, if you don't have an agreement or somebody, they can not come and respond to calls in your town, right? It's kind of the other end of the spectrum. I know there's mutual aid in fire departments.
Yes.
Like, is that guaranteed? Is it just response time? Like, you know, I'm not saying this is for now, but like,
Yeah.
can we afford to have a fire department is like a long-term question I have, as much as these people are great and I would love to have it. Like, how do we think about that?
So, and it goes to largely to what the EMS chief was saying on Monday, which is that if both towns have a fire department and they have to respond to each other, that's mutual aid.
Right.
If one town doesn't have a fire department and their towns respond for them, that's not mutual aid, and the local town will likely assess us some amount of money for those. And the question becomes, is the amount they're going to assess us going to end up being more than what we would pay to have our own fire department here in town? I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, at least right now, I do believe that's a question for long-term planning,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
a fire truck is
Yep.
not $100,000 vehicle.
It's a million.
You know, it's multiple millions now to purchase a new fire truck. So, yes, there's no doubt, you know.
But
That
that
those-
is similar to what Joe was talking about public safety in general. That's another question of like, you want to add 5 to 10 minutes of response time onto fires in town.
No, I don't.
You know, I don't either.
Yeah,
I'm just saying
yeah.
like that is again one of those big questions of, you know, it wouldn't be as drastic as state police coming from Shelburne Falls Barracks to here response time wise necessarily. Hopefully, especially a department like Amherst that has a more professional fire department and the response times are good would be out here soonish.
So the
Like-
difference too on the wages with the fire department, just, you know, versus police department versus EMS. EMS, those people are being paid to be on property and work. Police department is being paid to be on property and work. The fire department is only paid when they get called out or paid for a training exercise, and there's state mandated training.
Which is why we get so many of them for so little money.
Right, and that's so, even if we cut them, or, we can't say, I'm trying to think of the right way to explain, we can't say, let's cut that line item in half,
Cause it's based on call volume.
Right, because they're only getting paid when there's,
I'm not suggesting we cut any of these lines.
No, I just wanted
to
be clear what
stopping
the
to ask a
work's
longer term.
Yeah.
And also just for
Yeah.
context, the whole fire department, the whole department costs us $115,000 a year.
Not even.
I mean, yeah, slightly less than that. So like, we're not talking about a $500,000, $750,000 department.
Where could you cut $100,000 out of this budget? Like where, like,
Yeah.
I agree it's not a lot of money in the context of it, of like what we can actually, the levers we have to pull. Again, I'm not talking about this year and I don't want to spend too much
Yeah.
time here, but like, that's a lot of money in the context of levers we can actually pull.
It is.
And they're all terrible. Anyone
Yeah.
that like you're talking about a bunch of the police force or the fire department or libraries or whatever it is, it's all terrible.
yes.
No, I fully agree.
So, yeah, if you cut money in the fire department, you still have some very expensive assets sitting there.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you show me a town in Massachusetts where there's not a fire department? I mean, I'm sure there are
Yeah.
towns where there are or not police departments, but I mean, and that also raises issues about homeowners insurance. I
Yes.
mean, response times.
Correct.
I mean,
You could lose
it
your
could be a cascading
insurance
effect.
right away.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
That was a good point,
conversation
your
for,
homeowners would go up for everyone, that's
Yeah.
true.
and
If
probably
you can cut
amortize
it.
across the town, probably by more than what we're talking about here for everyone's homeowners insurance going on. So, yeah, again, we'll talk about that for next year. But for now, let's try to refocus. Any other questions about fire department?
I don't know why there's no fuel expense in here, is that because it's somewhere else?
It's
Fire
here.
department,
It's
fuel expense, line 128. Oh, it's zero.
It's zero because he moved, where did he put it?
Is that under his expenses then?
Is it just under flat expenses?
Safety complex?
It wouldn't be safety complex for fuel. No.
I have to ask him.
Yeah, please do ask him on that one.
Maybe it's just in line 126?
It might be.
Or so.
Seems low.
Well, because it's not in any of them.
The replacement equipment line is another one that had got reverted to the kind of tier 2. At 27,000, it was 22,990 in tier 1, so I don't know.
And that's one that's hard for me because what that big difference is he's looking to start replacing the
Right.
gear that's got like PFAS in it and is not good and causes cancer. And,
Yeah.
So that's a hard one for me. Like, I agree that if we don't get the override, like, we can't do that. Like, it sucks, but we can't. But I would love to keep that in the override if
Okay,
possible.
great.
I also, just for context, we're not gonna have, given the dollar amount that we put into the wording override, we're actually not gonna have as much trouble getting the override side to balance at the end of the day than we are the lower end. So while I will of course want to be as picky as I can about the override side, keeping that in oversight is not gonna.
Great.
Okay, moving on from fire department to inspectors. This is a fairly boring one. The only real major thing is just the building inspector expense item has some money in the override. I'm fine with it as it stands. Anyone have any differing opinions on that?
No, it's fine.
Beautiful.
So, that difference, I think, is just the code books. The difference of not replacing the code books versus replacing all the code books, I think he told us.
Yeah.
So you don't have to look it up online?
Yeah, which,
Well, they have to study from them too.
I know, but you can
You can
also
look up
study
online.
online, but.
But 4,500 of it is their software for their permanently.
so that's why the lower number has to be that.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
So, okay, sounds like we're good with keeping all that the same, so we can move on. Next up is other protection. Civil defense. Is this one that we can even cut down?
Right, so
I
is
think we
that
have-
just an assessment also?
What is that?
So, is that, so I.
Line 141.
I don't think I did that one, but I could have.
So line 142, the radio service for, service fee for the police and fire, they currently are sort of on two different 911 systems where they've got the one system that's like the new digital one, but they still have to use the old one.
Yeah.
So that one's
Because
all
there's
kind of
places they don't have digital coverage.
yeah, that's all kind of funky.
But
I
the
don't
civil
have a good
defense
answer
thing,
for 141 of whether we need to have that be reduced. So Becky, if you can make a note for
Yeah.
141.
Is that
find
code
out.
red or whatever, the reverse 911? Or is that someplace else?
No,
That's part of
someplace
this.
else.
Yeah, so I think this is one just,
Oh, it could be.
I think part of that compensates for the old analog phones.
The radio
Yeah.
line,
Yeah.
that's right.
Oh, the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
But the civil defense line, we're wondering if that's 5,800 is actually how much we spend, or it's been relatively consistent, but like, can we not spend that? Is I think the question.
So yeah, so Becky,
Yeah, because it could be that code red or whatever, but I don't.
I'm guessing we're gonna need to shift that $2,000 to the left, but we'll put that one as a come back to it on Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on other protection that you wanna ask? And just a reminder on the animal control, the reason that's going up is because we are shifting from having an animal control officer to being part of the Franklin County Animal Control group. As we've talked with the chief, you've talked with us a number of times.
yeah, we just couldn't even
We
get
couldn't
people
find
to apply
somebody
for
who
it.
yeah.
And we went without somebody for a whole year.
Yeah.
But we're only gonna get we're gonna get less from them if we don't pass the override. Or it's in both.
It's in both.
Okay.
That's just in the baseline. Just
Yeah, that's
it's
just,
an assessment, and we've agreed to be in that.
again, that's the
thing.
assessment they charge
Okay.
us.
So we can't do anything about that.
Correct.
And then streetlights is zeroed across the board because apparently we don't spend any money on streetlights, which is fine with me.
They run themselves.
Well, no, they used to be on South Main Street and maybe other places, and now they're not.
Oh, yeah, we turned them off and.
Probably in 08.
All right, moving on to
I
highway.
was on our committee at the time. We were mad for trick or treating.
Highway super is George's salary. I'm assuming that's a contract.
No.
It's not. It's showing 3.8. Is that?
What's in there, and I have to double check, it's a little more than 3 because of his,
He gets a
he's due for a
longevity.
$700 longevity.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then he had me check, because we were talking about, is it every year, is it, you know, we were looking at the bylaw on it.
Okay.
But it's in there right now, and we have to confirm whether,
As long as I can explain it away, I just don't want to have
No,
someone ask me why he's getting 8%.
It's basically,
8%.
it's basically COLA plus longevity-ish.
Yep.
Because he's no longer eligible for steps.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. I just need to know why. All right, and then highway laborer wages, that has a 6.6% increase.
they get the steps.
Steps,
And the
okay.
COLA.
Steps and COLA.
But why is that I mean, I'm asking this as someone on the personnel committee too. Why is their step in COLA bigger than other people's step in COLA?
They get the $1, and I think, and then the other one is either like, it goes up from 20, 30, 40, 60 or something. I
Okay,
think
so
they
it wasn't a wage adjustment. It was just steps in COLA.
Yes.
Okay.
It's only steps.
It's just
So I
weird
think
how
they
big
got
it is compared to
$1.
other people.
So I think when
They
you're
got
on,
$1.40.
so I think when you're on the lower end, your steps are a little bit bigger.
Okay.
You know, you
Yeah,
might
the
go
dollar
from
amount's the
20
same, but
to
the bigger percentage.
22. But then when you hit $30, you go from 30 to 31. So it
Yeah.
just,
All right.
Seasonal?
And then highway seasonal wages, looks like there's just a 3% increase in that. I'm assuming that's because he's trying to keep the number of seasonal labor hours steady, but give them a 3% COLA.
Yeah.
So there's one where
Hours could be cut.
we don't want to, but we could cut. We could say, sorry, no, we're not going to have as many seasonal laborers. What that's going to affect is primarily going to be like paving in the summer, or is the winter cleanup's not included in that, right?
no,
No,
the
winter's
seasonal
separate.
or summer, they do like the brush trimming along the sides of the roads.
Yep.
They paint the crosswalks.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if we have to cut something,
It would be
it's-
something we could.
otherwise it's cutting his main people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so that one would be one where I could very easily see pushing some of that from the base budget into the override
Yeah,
budget.
they're definitely summer, you know, because the snow plowing ones and stuff are, the winter ones.
So do you want to say 6,000 base and then another 2760 96 in the override?
I think it's going to be lower.
I think you want to go lower. Yeah.
Lower?
I think you need to.
So
you
4,000
gotta
and
cut
then the rest up?
$80,000 here.
Hmm?
We got to cut 80 grand here at some point.
And it's a lot easier to
Yeah.
cut out of seasonal workers that haven't.
No, absolutely. So do we want to push the entire seasonal wages up and tell him if we don't pass the override, sorry, we
Yes.
don't pass seasonal
Yes.
wages?
we
I
gotta
do
cut it.
actually, that's what I
Yeah.
think.
All right. Anyone else have any opinion on that before we move on? not hearing anyone.
But I
Seasonal
already
wages is
messed this
now
up, so
an
eight,
override
seven,
option.
what was the number?
No,
8796. So yeah, again, that takes another almost 9,000 back out of our base budget, which is good.
He already got rid of overtime.
Right, they said they would take comp time.
Yeah, because he had cut more than other departments.
Yeah. But his actuals on overtime are also lower. The actuals were 33 and then 18, so.
So in the override budget, we can give him back a little overtime.
Yeah, but when we put $2,500 in the override budget, does that sound good to everyone?
Yes.
Sure. Okay.
And then this,
And that goes at override, not regular.
Not regular, nothing in regular, no overtime regular, but for the.
and then the snow and ice wages, same deal.
So snow and ice wages is just, he's got just 14 straight. We used a lot more than that this year, but to be honest, this year was a odd year, not indicative of what we've seen recently, and I don't know what the next year's gonna be like, but I would be surprised if we had quite as much snow this next
So
year.
isn't though snow and ice,
You can overspend.
it's one of the things we can deficit spend?
Yeah,
Yes.
one thing, so we ran I don't remember the number, $40-something thousand deficit, not this past winter with all the snow the previous year, because that was in the tax recap last
Yeah.
fall.
I think it was 42,000.
So I'm not saying we need to change those budgets, but as we start to think about free cash usage,
Mhm.
I would expect we would have something similar in terms of deficit next fall when we do this year's tax recap.
Yeah, but given that it's one where we can deficit spend,
Yes.
let's not front load that account, let's
Yes.
do that.
Yes.
Okay. So are we happy then with the numbers as they stand then?
Just that 14,000, are we reducing that?
I think
Like
if you
if we
did
do
any,
I think, don't they not let you reduce it because they let you deficit spend? Isn't there some restriction on,
yeah, you can't reduce it, but you could,
you can increase it but not reduce it, I think, which is why people don't want to get up high because then you're stuck up high.
Yeah, I say we just leave it to 14 and we can deficit spend in that and not feel like
Just
that's
so
next year's problem, but that's next year's problem.
Dylan was bringing up, I think this year we're a lot more over. It could be $100,000 hit
Mhm.
on our.
So our free cash next year will have that hit.
Reflect that.
Yeah.
Well, our free cash that starts next year.
Yeah.
But the certified free cash would be adjusted because we'll have to use more to settle the tax recap.
But hopefully between now and then, we will also be having discussions about fees and things like that that might make changes to that whole formula. But anyways, let's not get ourselves too ahead there.
There is talk at the state level about allowing that to go more than 1 year when we have a real tough year, but I don't know if it's gonna move.
Okay.
Oh, that's
And then same thing with 2 lines down, the snow and ice expense. That's flat, and again, we need to leave it flat because we can deficit spend on that one.
So I have a question about this whole category. There are things we have to do in this town with our highway department. We have to get rid of the potholes, we have to clear the snow.
Yes.
We don't have to clear the sidewalks. Most towns don't do that.
That is fair.
Right.
How much, and I just feel like I wanna have, like, that's another conversation that's on the table. I think, like, how much would the highway department save if we didn't do the sidewalk? They do my sidewalk, I love it. But I just think, not everybody's on the sidewalks, and it's, most towns don't do that.
Yeah, in Greenfield, you're required to.
Most towns do some areas, I know all this stuff. Most towns do some areas.
Okay, well, we don't have any areas that have to be done because,
Well, I mean, the schools, they try to get near the schools.
okay, but
People walk to the schools.
North Main never has to get plowed. We're not walking to anything. Except for my house.
Yeah, but there, not to play the ADA card, but accessibility, ADA, you have to have that.
But you have to have it maybe but not to my house. You do not, no, Amherst does not plow the sidewalks.
So question,
No, I'm just saying, you got Grace across the street from you, she walks that sidewalk, someone's got her.
I understand that, but I don't think we're required to do it.
No.
I wanna do it all.
So,
is there a
Yeah, no, I
bylaw
agree,
that says?
but I will say this, you run into troubles with, then you're getting into finding people and you got elderly folks, it's a tough.
Oh, I
thing.
understand. I am not gonna leave my house if we don't
so
plow the
and to be clear,
sidewalks.
the alternative is not that there is no sidewalk shoveling done. The alternative is that we shift the responsibility of that
Back
from
to the people
town
who live in those.
to the people who, the chunk of sidewalk in front of your house you're responsible for. If you don't, you
Correct.
can be fined for that, you can be cited for that. The question though, which I think is important, is that on our bylaws currently, or would we need to make a bylaw change in order to require people in town to clear the sidewalk in front of them? I don't know the answer to that, we can
I don't
find
either.
that out though.
Yeah,
I just feel like it should be-
Sunderland, they got a machine that goes through.
I understand.
We share that with several towns, yeah.
No, we're trying to get our
We have a
own.
Yeah, we're trying to get our own. I don't think we're sharing that much because we do a lot of it.
No,
and
no,
that-
we are sharing.
But we're trying to get our own.
Yeah.
We
on-
loaned it out to other towns.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
trying to get a grant to get a new one because we've been borrowing it.
All right, so before we go
You know,
around a whole bunch
I
of
don't think there's a
circles
lot
on
of
this.
room that we can change, but is there less service? Like what can, you know, if we're
I
talking
think
about
so.
not having overnight police, can we not plow the sidewalks?
I agree.
Yeah.
The
I
question
completely
is,
agree.
if it's snow and ice related wages, we overspend that line anyway, so we actually can't reduce anything,
Right.
even if we decide. If we decided not to plow the sidewalks, we'd still overspend that
All
line.
right, so,
Right,
And-
we
and-
overspend it, but we wouldn't have to
We
deal with
overspend
the
it
The- the
fine.
key though,
Correct.
So it's
guys,
still
I'm
a
gonna,
relevant conversation.
Exactly.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
take the control again. The key though is it does not change our budget
Correct.
at all.
Okay, so the
Therefore, we're not
sidewalk
talking about it
shoveling
today,
we can
we'll
put
talk
off.
about it later.
okay,
Moving on.
I'm gonna put off the sidewalk fight.
Yep, no, we will talk about that, but all that would mean is that instead of spending $100,000 out of next year's free cash, we'd be spending less of that, which is a valid thing for us to talk about,
Yes.
but with George after town meeting. All right, and then secretarial help, I'm assuming we can't do anything on that, is that the
That's-
4 hours or whatever
yeah.
it is? Okay. And that has a 5%
Right.
increase, is that a step plus COLA too?
I'm sorry, back to the maintenance expense, that one bumped up. That's a tier 2, 72,675.
156 highway maintenance expense?
Yeah.
So it looks like our lower budget, we've got a reduction, but then 15,000 going back in the year.
Right, and originally the tier 1 was flat, it was 67,675. I'm not saying that's what it should be, I'm just throwing that out there.
And this is an expense item again, and this is one of those places where we do have levers, we do, and I would say we leave it as it stands right here, which is that we're cutting 10 if the override doesn't pass,
Yeah.
and then we're giving them a moderate increase, which is compensatory.
But is this some place to reduce more, only because it's a bigger line item, not because he's not gonna use it?
I mean, we could.
Maybe just flag it, I don't have a different number, but like, if we get to the end.
Yeah, we want the middle number, not the,
Yep.
Yep.
All right, I put a note on that one for me. All right, any other questions in highway?
So I'm concerned about the highway fuel. That's a huge cut.
Yeah.
Can they really do?
No, and I think this is again because George was one of those people who came back to us with some good faith efforts to make drastic cuts.
No, I know
And
he
we're gonna get into
did,
there, so
but
I think that's one of the places where we have to say no.
we
need
just
to
cut his
put-
seasonal wages, we can give us back his wage and his fuel.
But then that,
That doesn't help
We're
us.
trying to
yeah,
get
we're not
somewhere.
trying to,
right. I just fear that some of these cuts are
Unrealistic.
unrealistic.
but is that a
and
number we got from him, or is that a number that?
I'm sure
I
he gave
believe
it to
it's
us. We didn't make it up. So
Well, I could have, but I think he gave.
So maybe what we do
I
is
did
make it a little
review
bit
it
less
with him
drastic. Instead of 9,095, we go 12,065. Does that sound?
I mean, I just don't know. I don't even know. And again, if it's something you can flag and just
Yeah.
ask George if this is
Yeah.
even realistic, because it,
I mean, it's not realistic.
Well, and that's where if we wanted to increase fuel, the two that we could look at or ask him is expense and road machinery. Could we borrow from there to get fuel to something that he actually might come in on, where there's others, there's at least, even if it's bad, at least it's doable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But running out of gas is not great.
no, and again, having a line item so low that we just blow it right out of the water. I
Yeah.
mean, we could change all these super low and blow them out of the water and next year go, oh well.
Road
Well, then you
machine-
scramble trying to pay them and figure out where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
Pull it from other land.
Road machineries and the override is up a decent amount from last year. I didn't know if that was related to a particular item or,
Yeah.
They didn't want to buy a trailer.
yeah, it's been a while
But
since
then
we had
he
this
has
one.
capital. I mean, the trailer's in the capital purchase.
Yeah, I would be curious what that road machinery line.
Now, why is that,
for.
that's much, I guess it was 26.
That was tier 2,
actual
tier 1 was
25.
22,000.
No, I just mean, what is that, what does he pay out of that? Because that's not his,
Well, let's go back to 22,000 on that one, since we don't even know what it was. And we can ask George about the thing in general and say this, we need,
so we're saying 15.
we don't think your fuel thing makes
15 and
sense.
7.
15 and 7 is what we're saying then, so we drop the override and keep the base where it is? Okay.
I'm sorry, what, we're talking about road machinery?
Road machinery,
Line
yeah.
160.
And we're gonna do,
So we're gonna keep the base the same, but the CU column, we're gonna drop from 13 to 7,000. So that the total is the same 21 that he had last year.
22.
22.
It was 21 last year.
Or sorry, that's 22 then. Do you want
It's
to
still
drop
going
6
up.
then? Or are we? Yeah, it's still going up by a little bit, and I think that's reasonable, given his actuals for 25.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 7,000 now. And then tree warden expense. He has it half in the override, half out of the override. Is that an assessment, or is that something that we're?
no, he does the work.
Good.
They do the work.
Okay, but
But he
it's
could use this money to hire a contractor to come in per day.
okay, but it is something we could come in less and just do less tree work.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep it at the 5 and 5. That sounds reasonable. So
It's on a stipend for the, it's on a stipend, is it?
No,
Some towns I've seen it's a stipend
no,
for one of the guys.
no, it's
Okay.
George, and George calls who he needs.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any last questions on highway before we move on from highway? Beautiful. Next up is health and sanitation. All right. So our Franklin County Solid Waste District looks like our number went up by 20%. I'm assuming though we don't have a choice in that. That's our assessment, so won't even bother talking about it. Reflecting trash pickup. So sad to see those line items crossed out. I miss Sunderland trash pickup. Anyways, moving
Well,
on.
let's
from
pass
there.
this over, right, so we don't have to cut more things like that. We'll miss for the next 15
know.
years.
I don't want to be saying in 5 years how I miss library services, for example. Anyways, hazardous waste days. None of that is all. That's all blank. Landfill monitoring. Is this the
This
PFAS
is
monitoring?
for,
No, the next
it's
one is
not the
PFAS.
PFAS, it's not the PFAS, it's the monitoring that we have to do all the time, that they discovered the PFAS,
Okay.
and then the PFAS is getting worked on by the other engineers.
And there's 2 sites that are monitored, is that correct? Or is there more than 2 sites?
Doesn't change.
There's still just one,
Drop it in.
but there've been two
This
other,
one,
there've
this
been
one,
2
this one.
different ones that have been like, very slight, that have cleared out on 2nd and 3rd testing. We have our first
No, I meant
real,
the,
How many are monitored?
how
not how many
many
hiss.
separate sites are being monitored? There's 2. There's the one on Falls Road, and there's the one on.
Well, one site. One site? Sorry.
Okay,
There's
so
only
the
one
one
site.
on 47 and Falls Road, that's just so old now it doesn't have to be monitored?
I don't know anything about that.
I don't know of any monitoring wells down there, but maybe there is. But the PFAS is all the one.
Well, no, I know where the PFAS is,
Yeah,
but there were 2
Yeah.
separate dump sites in Sunderland.
Yeah.
You know where
I
that
don't think
was?
I think it's only the old landfill, the landfill up north.
Right, but there was a landfill right at where Falls
Falls
Road.
Road.
Yeah, that was one of the locations we looked at for the solar when we were talking about that like a couple of years ago. Was
And I don't think there's a well there. I don't think there's any wells there. I could be wrong. But,
All right,
I mean,
no,
I
it
think-
just, that was a landfill, so I wasn't sure if we were monitoring 2 separate sites.
Yeah, I think it's just the one.
Okay.
All right. Staying on topic. So that one is. We have that's something we're contracting out, right? That Titan Bond is doing that for
Yes.
us. So we again don't have a lot of choice in that.
right.
PFAS monitoring again, not a lot of choice in that. We are.
Well,
That number got adjusted up from 14 and change to 19 and change, so I just don't know which one
Gotcha.
it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I had a quote come in that I need to cover, so
Okay.
that's why I increased it.
Great.
Now is that one that we can? I mean, because right now it's split out between non-ballot and ballot. Is that one we can? Would we just do less monitoring? Are we even allowed by law to do less monitoring if that was the case?
I'm praying the override
Yeah.
passes.
But
So, I mean, again, so.
That's not a good strategy.
We just have to shift it. So I think we have to put the 18 in the standard budget because we don't have a shift.
So
Okay.
does that need to be?
That's unfortunate, but.
Which line number is this?
171.
So we're
Okay.
putting it to 18 for the base.
19,478.
19,478 is base and same amount.
Okay. Riverside Cemetery.
Why is that number so much higher than the budget,
Yeah.
Than last
Yeah,
year's
that's-
budget, you mean?
than
Yep.
last year's budget? Like, why did it
I
go up
don't
by?
know anything about this. I'm
The
trying to
PFAS?
figure out.
No,
No, it's
Riverside
the
Cemetery.
Oh, sorry, Riverside Cemetery.
10,598 was for, I think it has to do with the actual from 25, where there was work done at the Riverside, and I think we can take it back down to 3,000.
Okay.
All right.
And so it would just be 3,000 in the base, nothing in the override?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful, that's an extra.
Sticking at 80.
$1,000.
Something there.
Okay. Care of veterans' graves, $700. That seems reasonable to leave that alone.
That's to buy the flags.
Yep. Board of Health stipends.
So, if that is the only purpose of that is to buy the flags, again, we're looking at a tiny dollar amount here.
Right.
Didn't we just get like a whole bunch of memorial donations
We
for
did, yeah.
flags at the cemetery? Cause
So
we
can't we just-
signed
Can we delete it?
about 100
Yeah, no, we've been
letters
getting
to
them.
very wonderful people who made donations.
We don't have to have that come out of our budget.
Right.
Yeah.
If we had, I know we had well more than $700 in donations.
Yeah, so I'm 100% on board with zeroing out that line item for this year. It's a tough year, and honestly, if it came down to whether or not we have like police services or flags on the veterans' graves,
You gotta make.
I'm sorry.
Well, and
but,
it sounds like we
decisions
might have
to
the
be made.
flags, and we might
Yeah,
have the
and-
money
and-
for
for
it,
this
So
year already.
is
Yeah.
this just in base or also override?
What I'm saying we're zeroing it out entirely
just for this, yeah.
for this year.
We already have the flags.
I got you.
All right.
I don't know if we have the flags, but
She
Yeah.
thinks we did.
we actually have them.
Yeah, Mel was getting them.
Wonderful.
That's great.
All right, so that one is going to be zeroed out. That's great. Not a huge decrease, but every penny helps. All right, Board of Health stipend. It looks like that is stagnant across the previous years, so we'll leave that one alone. Board of Health salaries. So the Board of Health stipend, that's for the members of the Board of Health. The Board of Health salary, that would be for the Board of Health agent. Is that correct?
The clerk, the current clerk.
The current clerk, okay, which we had just discussed.
And then the,
And how many hours a week is that?
10.
Looked like the expenditures were 6,900
So-
last year.
10 hours for $22,000.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
It doesn't seem-
This was Steve Ball's budget line. And so we've used it for, when he didn't come back, this year I've been using it for the clerk. And then the reason not to zero it out is because we don't know what we're gonna have to pay the collaborative when they start charging us for their services.
Okay.
And they have been active.
Okay. And then Board of Health expense is, same amount as last year, just only if the override passes. If it doesn't, $786 instead of the $1,050.
Yep.
And they'll have to make do, and that is what we're all doing. Okay. Any other questions about the health chunk before we move on?
No.
All right, next up is library. All right, so we have looks like a small.
Huh.
I don't know why the colas are
Yeah, the
low.
cola's wrong. Something's wrong with my colas. Thank you, I hadn't seen that.
Okay, so we're gonna need to do some adjustment on the colas,
Yeah.
between those two items.
Because there also, I think, at least, there's some chance one of those persons is longevity in that cola, like, I think there's some work that needs to be done on those lines.
These numbers changed from what we had before. It was bigger in the close, I think we're right, so I think something just.
Okay, so we're gonna have to make some adjustments there for a couple $1,000s.
Yeah.
Together, the two items are about $200,000, so another 2%, 3% on that is gonna be about another $6,000 we're looking at. But around that, between those two line items, and we'll put a cork in that until we get definitive answers on that. And then library expense, this is the one we're talking about where the Friends of the Library are going to shift money around depending on where everything lands, but we need to make sure that we have enough in there that we don't cause ourselves to not be able to get the exception or whatever it is.
Correct.
But
it's also one of those areas the libraries will say, you know, we don't want to be disproportionately cut, but maybe we want to have more support wages because they cut out their substitutions line, right? So if someone calls out sick, the library closes versus if you have a substitute line, right? So the library might be like, we don't actually need 13 in library expense. We're going to have the Friends cover that, but we can't have the Friends cover our substitutes. So we may get feedback back from the library that says this is how we'd rather spend that 13,000.
The question Catherine asked today was, would she be able to use any of the 13,000 for wages?
Right. Because that, like I said, they zeroed out the substitutes, right?
And the other piece is the 7-hour new position on Thursdays.
So I think the short answer is not as is written right now, but if she wants to do that, we would need to make that adjustment before we submit the budget, so we would need to take that.
I said we had time today, Wednesday, or next Monday. We're meeting next Monday too, right?
So
I think we just live
the library is a small microcosm in this that we need to spend a little bit extra attention on because of the certification issues. What I would love to have information on between now and Wednesday, and maybe the library can work on this so that it's not all on Becky's shoulders, is what is our number that we have to contribute? You won't be able to know that in the rest of the thing.
I think she said the other day when they reviewed it, it's really the balance of their budget that we're not funding. So if they had the 44,286 for their expenses, it sounded like with the number, the formula she was playing with, that's what she needed.
No, that's
the gap. She's putting almost all of her gap into the expenses as opposed to having the.
That's what we need for the MER, but that doesn't mean that the town has to give it to us. But the town can give us less as long as they're giving other people less, and we ask for a waiver and we raise from the Friends.
But it will trigger it, I believe, if we fund
At
it under
13?
that.
I think it triggers it anything under 44.
Anything under 44, we're not funding the library.
Right. Either way, we're triggering it. It's just that if we trigger it, which we expect to do, how can we prove that it was okay?
And what's our explanation, right? So there's lots of things you could put. You could put that the 7-hour a week was a grant.
Yep.
And now, you know, things didn't work. But, you know what I mean? It becomes how do we word this? How do we say this? It's not great.
Yeah.
By no means is it great saying that, you know, we have to trigger that and have to, you know, say it's disproportionate, but it has to be defensible.
So I guess what I would
The
propose on
13 doesn't really help us other than the overall number to the library.
Yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't help us, like we're not hitting 44.
What we need to know in order to be able to make a decision here is what number doesn't put us in jeopardy. Now I know that's not an easy thing to just pull out of nowhere. What we're
I
going
think it really is what we told you.
I think to Val's point, if there's no override, we will have to submit an application for a waiver. The question is whether we will be entitled to the waiver, and that will hinge partially on whether we're being cut proportionally to the other departments in town. So I think, as Heidi said, there's a program on Wednesday so that we all get better, you know, up to speed on exactly what the machinations are, and then there's a window of a certain number of years to kind of get back on track. And it's constant work.
Yep.
What you're trying to avoid is total Armageddon is getting decertified.
And so in order not to be decertified, what we need to do.
So I think we will have more information specifically on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But I also think in terms of where the money goes, that's something that the trustees are going to want to discuss.
So in my head, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but in my head, what we need to do is figure out what the total town's reduction is this year. Like, what does everybody's cuts look like? And so if we determine at the end of the thing is that override doesn't passes, it's a 11% cut across the board, whatever the number is, I'm just making up a number. once we determine that's 11% cut across the board, we need to make sure that the library didn't take more than an 11% cut.
Or significantly more than 11%,
Significantly,
probably.
maybe 12%, but like,
Right.
and we can know what that leeway is, so that we can say, okay, the minimum we have to put into the budget for the library is this number, because we go below that, and the state's gonna say, no, you didn't make your cut. So in order to be able to know what that number is, we need to also know what our reduction overall is. So I think we really can't settle on that one until we settle on everything else.
But we'll find out on that meeting on Wednesday, the process.
Yes.
More information about how they figured that out.
I would just say though that.
Yeah, and we'll find out if there's any variance, like if it's between 9 and 12% cut town-wide, as long as we're in the middle there, we'll figure out all of those details at this webinar.
Perfect, thank you.
I don't think there's a way that, like, it's very hard to get a department like the library where there is flexibility, as bad as it is to reduce the budget. There's so many other departments that we don't have the same amount of flexibility. So getting them to the average is going to be very hard, because some of them are going to be above the average. So it means other people have to be below the average.
So yes, but we also have the school in our back pocket in that respect, because the school is going to, even at the override budget, is going to have a substantial decrease, and it's a huge bucket of money in our town. And so we're going to be able to use that on the other side of that equation to say that, well, yeah, sure, maybe the highway department only took 5% decrease, but the school, even with more money, took a 12% decrease just to get down to this first budget.
So the evaluation is just from the requested budget, not from like.
And so again, we'll know more on Wednesday, but my understanding is it's not so much a evaluation as it is, come prove to us that you're not full of it.
Right.
And we'd be able to say, well,
right.
Yes, our budget numbers may have gone up in certain places, but that constitutes a 12% reduction in services for the school, let's say, or a 12% reduction in this or that. I think that's an argument we'd be able to make. But again, Heidi will go close more. Sorry.
And Catherine also said that the schools, they don't compare them to the schools. It's the other department.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's not, I think that's what they thought.
I think they take the easy
So
one out.
here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have us put a pin in this because we already know that we're getting more information on Wednesday. It's late. We have a lot to still get through in the next couple days, and so we're gonna just put a pin on that one. So the library we will come back to on Wednesday. Let's move on to our final page. So under schools, elementary school, we don't need to touch. We've already talked about it 4,000 times. We all know the deal. If the override doesn't pass, it's going to be catastrophic. If it does pass, it's still a reduction, but a reduction that they can live with. School transportation, can't really do much of that at all anyways. That's not an item, it's all that's been included. And then after that, Smith Voc is an assessment, Smith Transportation is an assessment, Franklin Tech is an assessment, Franklin Tech assessment, Frontier is an assessment, Transportation is an assessment. So everything else in school is, we can't touch it.
So how does Transportation Smith have different numbers there? If we have to pay a transportation cost.
Because we have a second person that is, we're not sure if we have two knowns and one transportation known, because the second person can drive themselves. We have a new person that we're uncertain about, but very likely, and that's the second transportation is for the likely person.
But if they do, we have to pay it.
Right.
So I realize if they do, we have to pay it, but we can't, it's just a number.
That'll be a variance. I don't think we should, I think this budget is right, and if it happens and the override doesn't pass, it'll be a variance next year.
Okay.
Because we don't know we have to do it. Can't.
Right.
Yeah.
So we.
But since we think it's likely, we should put it in the
So we
override.
leave the 20 in the override, but we say if it doesn't pass, we're throwing the dice and rolling and hoping that it
Okay.
works out.
Well, yeah, I just wasn't sure why it was
I'm
different, but okay.
So that's all schools. Schools is very boring, even though it's the 2/3 of our budget. Moving on down, benefits insurance. This entire thing, I don't know that we have anything we can do about this entire category.
Okay, you already did.
We could use the OPEB trust fund to fund our OPEB commitments in that retirement, medical and life line, or wherever the retired employees line falls out. I don't know, I'm guessing it's in the town employees medical and life.
It is.
So I'm not advocating for that, I'm just saying that is something we could do. And I don't know if we've ever verified if we're subsidizing 50 or 55%, because we should make sure we're doing the right percent there.
So My concern with the OPEB fund, and I don't disagree with you that we have the option, is that we had just passed the $500,000 mark that allows us to be able to make more money on our money, and if we take money out of that, we might drop below that level and then lose that option. I believe we were only at like 512,000 or something like that.
No, it was healthy.
It's like 570, but it's probably down from that last statement for the last month or two. I'm not clear on what the difference in election options are. I know that some of the newer election options we're getting are more alternative investments, which are not always better, but can be better. So yeah, I think ideally more work needs to be done, but I'm just saying if we get to the end and we need $20,000 and it can't come from anywhere else, I'd rather take it there than lose a firefighter or a policeman or a library or whatever.
Well, so what's going to end up happening is once we do all the things we're doing now, we're going to end up having the gap for the base budget fall somewhere different, and we're going to see whether we can put more free cash, more stabilization, and yes, OPEB is another place where we could, if we are already taking way more money out of free cash than we feel comfortable doing, we could choose to do that.
So Dylan's second point though is, are we paying too much of employee retiree health insurance that we weren't allowed to do?
And I don't know the answer to that. Yeah.
So if we're paying 55%, but we're not supposed to be paying 55%, we're supposed to be paying 50. That's a deal.
Narratively, sorry, go ahead.
I believe it's a select board vote on policy.
It's not though. The original bylaw.
It was a bylaw. Okay.
No, the original, the MGL, there were multiple mass general laws that the town could adopt. In 1999, we adopted the one that specified 50, no more, no less 50. There were others that were 50 or more, or with select board approval. And if we've passed another one since then, please correct me if I'm wrong. But like that was what I saw, and that's why I asked the question.
Okay.
So we might be doing more, we might be doing the wrong number.
1999. It's on the town website. I just looked through the warrant from them.
We need to, I wish he was still here, because Tommy would know it right off the top of his head.
So
But else maybe the select board had voted to do it, but we couldn't.
Right.
So anyway, we will address that.
There was another vote that came up today, the longevity vote. That would have had to be a change to the policy as well. And I'll follow up on that one too, because we don't know.
If you can get some answers, that would be great for us.
Yeah, I want to verify everything.
Okay. All right, any other questions on the benefits and insurance chunk?
The unemployment, is that a realistic difference between the base and the override budget? And pardon my ignorance of unemployment, but would it not be more if we were laying off more people in the base budget?
What line number is this one?
This is set 206.
And isn't it just the insurance that we pay?
Yeah.
So we expect it to be lower?
No, we're self-insured, so we actually have to
Okay.
pay people. This should be $100,000 if we're gonna be laying off people. But where am I gonna get it? We doubled it, it was 6,000.
Well, we haven't talked about laying anybody off, we've talked about cutting hours
Right.
mostly.
Okay.
Not that's, and then they could quit and then we don't have to owe them unemployment insurance. The schools are laying off, but are we responsible for the schools' unemployment layoffs?
Yeah, they're all ours.
Oh, shit. Never mind. Sorry.
So that number isn't okay then?
Right.
Gotta pass this over.
And that's, again, one of those situations that we have to spell out to the town is that, like, every cut we make, we only really save half of the money, because the other half of the money that we save, we lose because we're paying unemployment, or because we have people choice out of the school, or because of all the other secondary fallouts that happen. And so this is, again, one of the places that we're gonna have to really make a good, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what we do with that. We don't have $100,000 to put in there.
Yeah. And that's probably too much, but I'd be a lot more comfortable if it was 50.
Yeah.
A real number for that?
12.
Like, can we estimate it?
It's, it moved from 6 to 12.
Yeah, but is there a real estimate? If the override goes through, do we know what the numbers are that we'd have to pay, roughly?
You mean if the override doesn't?
Yeah, that's right. So it means the override does go through, we're still losing a couple
You're talking cutting six people from the school.
Yeah, so what's the unemployment cost of 6 people off onto our employment? Yeah. That's a question.
It depends what positions they are, and it depends how
Yeah.
quickly they get new jobs.
But
It's a lot of money, because one's a adjustments counselor, one's a math interventionist, I think there's there's some people with decent salaries. And what percent, is it 75, 60, what 60% unemployment by their salary?
I think
Do we pay all that?
Well, yeah, unemployment insurance is about 50.
50. And we pay the whole thing, or does the state kick in some?
100% our responsibility.
Yeah, it's a lot. If it doesn't pass, we really need to change that number. We have to pay them.
So how does that work if a year where we aren't having these discussions, a whole bunch of people end up on unemployment for some reason or another? How would we deal with that in a year where we didn't budget enough? Are we allowed to overspend on that? Would we have to come back to ask for money from the finance committee mid-year for that?
Well, given that we spent 14,000 last year, I feel like it has to be at least 14,000 in a year where we know there's layoffs coming.
So this is honestly one where we might want to do the opposite of what we have been doing. Actually, we can't take money out of the override. We can't go less. I was gonna say we should put more money in the base than for the override, but it doesn't work that way because of the override. So we would need to put. Do we want to go 40,000? I mean.
I feel better.
I mean, if we put 40,000, we have to do the layoffs.
No, we're not doing them, the school is.
No, if we're gonna put 40,000 in there, we have to do layoffs other places.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, or we're taking $40,000 more of
Right, but it's-
free
yeah.
cash or stabilization or OPEB or whatever it is to make that up.
But I feel like we need to be,
Right.
6,000 is not right.
Yeah.
6,000 isn't even a couple weeks for 6
Yeah.
weeks.
The only thing about this is, if this were to happen, I agree, it could be much higher. That would not be a persistent multi-year thing necessarily.
Yes.
Correct.
So I wouldn't want to overshoot on our base budget assumption. This is what variances are for, this is what reserve funds are for, and
Yeah.
if it comes to, this is what special town meetings are for.
Yes.
So I am fine if we want to increase it from 12, but I think 40, while it absolutely could be 40, is way too much.
That's why I was asking what happens if we don't have the money.
What if we
It sounds
do it-
like we have.
Would you be
so.
comfortable with 20?
I think that's,
Okay.
So are we saying 20 in the base budget and nothing in the override? Because if the override, less positions are getting cut, and it should be a better situation, not a worse situation.
Correct.
Right.
Nothing that passes.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I
you
mean,
still
we still have to put the
something.
20 in.
Well, no, the
But we
six.
get that,
Yeah,
yeah.
keep what it is. Yeah,
because there's a couple people are gonna get laid off even with the override.
Yes. Okay,
And
so
someone else,
it sounds like we're all in agreement. We're putting 14 more into the unemployment. So for
but
20,
we're not changing between the override and the not override.
the override number's going away entirely. It's just 20,000 in the base.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Town municipal employee of medical life, can't change that. That's what it is.
Unless it's that 50 thing.
Unless it's potentially that, and we'll have to look into that. The
Now, how
OPEB,
much would that really change it?
I don't know what percent of that number is.
The retirees,
do we know how many retirees are taking our insurance?
I
Not
think
that
it's
many.
like 30.
So
Oh.
we could change it.
So that's a substantial chunk of people.
So we could be
Well, some
overpaying
of them
on
are very
insurance,
small.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
but it's,
So we
we're
do need
paying
an answer to
55%
the
instead of
55 to 50% question. So we'll revisit that one once we have an answer to that one. And then Medicare, town insurance, again, those we can't change. We have no choice there. Any questions on benefit insurance before we move on? All right, miscellaneous and reserve. Recreation expenses now a revolving account. Recreation coordinator, that is Jim. He's getting his 3% COLA, otherwise that's flat. Town park, that looks like that is being split out so that if we don't pass the override, we're only giving 1,000 for town park. Town park is largely maintained by the Firefighters Association, though.
can that be zero that
And
one?
they
They
charge
get
fees for their use. To be honest, I'd say that's one where we say, sorry, we have no money for you if we don't pass the override because that's not a town priority.
Yeah, I
Having
agree.
firefighters is a town priority, the town park not as much, and they can.
And then we put the 1,600
A lot
back
more
in for
heavily.
the override.
Correct.
And yeah, if we have override,
And
yes,
they can
we
fix
do.
the freezer. Or whatever.
so 0 on base budget.
And 16 on the
Okay.
override. Yep.
So before you totally do that, just make sure that line
Zeroed.
item isn't paying the electricity, because there's a bathroom up there that would.
Check on electric and water.
You know, whether they need septic pumped once a year or something like that.
If you can also ask them what their fees income is from there, because those are the two numbers that are ultimately competing, is what's the bare minimum to maintain keep the lights on at the park, and what do you bring in from that. So if it costs $3,000 a year to keep the lights on and they bring in $2,700, great, we only need to give them $3,300 a year to be able to keep the lights on. And that's what we have to do.
Right, but we just need to find out what's in that.
Yeah, so yeah, if you can check with.
Because there is electricity up there is bathrooms, there.
Yep, 100%. Maintenance of
Firefighters. We'll go to Steve. Steve Benjamin.
Maintenance of town recreational fields, looks like the actual on that was pretty high. Is that the revolving account?
Yeah, he really needs the 9,000
Yeah.
to do the job, but he
does.
Again, this is one of those places where, okay, we have a bad year,
Yeah,
maybe our fields are a little bit rattier for the year because we need to have firefighters.
And I also think that this is one of the areas last year that we said, this is one of the areas that CPA can be used for.
right.
You know, for winterize, maybe winterizing of the bathrooms can be CPA.
Yeah.
Like, we can't fund it if there's millions of dollars in CAP that could fund it.
So let's do that. Let's zero that out for. Or do we want to zero it, or do we want to shift
Maintenance
some?
town recreation, line 217?
Yeah. Do we want to push?
We probably can't make it zero, but we can make it more than, he wanted more than just.
Again, we gotta remember what that whole thing was for. We just we just dealt with this last year. That's because they're using that soccer field and stuff for the schools and everything else, and it's in such poor condition. If we...
Yeah, we just reseeded it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Right.
We just reseeded it last fall. And we're not gonna maintain it? It was
We gotta maintain it.
$10,000.
Well, I mean, we're talking about not maintaining it as well if the override doesn't pass. Not if it does pass.
Not
you
as
know.
well. That's it starts at the end of the baseball field.
It's just that there are, that kind of stuff is something that CPA can get used for. And we've said to Jim before, like, ask for a grant for the reseeding, ask for a grant for this, and he hasn't. And they haven't rejected him, he just hasn't asked.
Right, and it's too late
Okay,
now.
I know it's too late now, but.
You can't use CPA for maintenance.
No, but you can for reseeding.
Yeah.
And he did
Yeah,
it.
I know, he could have, yeah, should have done that. but
So
you're
I don't
right.
know what the maintenance is, but we're cutting we need to cut the budget to what the bare maintenance is.
So it sounds to me like we leave it where it is right now, which is 6,000 no override, 9,000 with the override, and if you need to do more than that because there's something that's a big item, great, go to the CPA for that because it's a big item. Otherwise, this is what you have to maintain the field, and I'm sorry, but it's what we got.
Yeah, I think he could do it for 6 if he had.
If he had to, I mean, he's gonna have to if we don't get this override.
I mean, a couple of years ago, he only spent less than 4, so.
Yeah, which
Right,
wasn't,
yeah.
he didn't do a lot that year, but again, okay. FERCog assessment, can't touch that really, unless we want to remove the FERCog and we get enough out of it that I wouldn't suggest that. Memorial Day, this is for the parade, and I'm assuming this is largely for Jim's expenses around the flags and the flowers and the.
But with the flags, we already covered.
Yeah.
Well, no, so...
Well,
this is the flowers.
This is different flags, these are the little flags for the kids to wave and.
Yeah, but there's different sets of flags too. There's veterans flags and there's other flags that are on like
So
past police department, past fire department, all that doesn't fall under veterans flags.
So I would say.
There's other stuff.
I think the numbers on this is fine, which is that if the override passes, he has roughly he has exactly what we've given him in years past, which he hasn't spent all of in years past. If it doesn't pass, the $364 is enough for him to be able to do that to some degree.
Is there any fee associated with getting any of those groups that come for the parade? You know,
He used to have to get a bus for the band. So when he hasn't been having the band, so that's brought down the cost.
And again,
Well, I think the band just becomes like, if you can make it to Sunderland, join us. He doesn't pay for the band still comes.
When they have a parade.
Right, with the band still comes on the parade, but the parents just bring the kids. They don't have a bus.
So I'd say we leave this alone. As is,
That's been
which
true
is
for years.
A little bit of money if we don't pass it, enough money if we do pass it. All right. Council on Aging. That's $100. Yeah.
We don't know what that is, but-
South County Senior Center, our lower budget number is if the override doesn't pass. Higher one is if it does, and we move into the thing. And we don't need to talk about that more. I assume everyone's talked about that 1,000 times.
Well, just from my memory, why is it 71? What did we?
Because that was the new
It's the
budget,
no-go.
she wants to hire, she's
So-
replacing the grant-funded
Yeah.
person.
No.
That's why.
And also our assessment is going up as a percentage.
So that's the big part. We pay a higher assessment now. We went
It went from 25 to 28.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is that a grant person, so this is the second time she's done that, where she had a grant person,
Yep.
and then she's like, oh, now your budget's gone up. Like,
Yeah,
it's hiring people through the back door of grants, which
Yes.
we had told her not to do, and then she did it again.
yes.
I mean, can we reduce it by that grant funded person then and just say, I'm sorry, we can't afford this,
We'd have to have all the towns do that simultaneously.
even if we're going first?
Yes.
Well, we also did that the library side. The Thursday, that was from a grant too.
We did that, but we cut those hours at the library, that's my point.
Yeah.
So can we
Similar,
go back
no.
to her and
No.
say, or no, because that's.
I feel like we used that meeting, that was the time to do that, and we didn't,
Right, it was a sales pitch.
because we were spending 2 hours on a sales pitch.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's, we could try and make some movement on there for sure. I'm not super confident that we would make any headway in that
So I
respect.
think
and I
that
know there's
one
time.
becomes if 2 pass it, if 2 towns pass it, we're
Yeah.
stuck with it.
Okay.
Versus the new building, it's
All of us, all or
all
nothing.
of us.
So
I think-
EMS is all of us, and
No, EMS would be, I think there if 2, I think 2 people have to,
oh, not
Two-
South County, I thought you were saying South County was
no,
one.
South County Senior Center.
Yeah,
I think that's right, Crystal. 2 towns pass, it's passed, and the third has to suck it up.
Correct, for their yearly assessment.
But not for the new,
Right.
But not for
Project.
the new building. The new
Correct.
building is
Correct.
Yeah.
all 3.
off.
if we don't pass it,
Actually, all.
No one gets
unanimous.
it.
So back to the base assessment, my understanding is what would have to happen in order for that to change is not that we would make a change, it's that we would have to, in concert with the other towns, put pressure on her and the BOO to make a change to the budget request for us to then vote or not vote on the new budget request that would be lower. Again, I don't see that happening in the next couple of days, or even successful at all, period. So unless anyone feels wildly otherwise, I don't want to spend a ton of time today talking about that.
Sounds good. I do think moving forward, she needs to present an
Oh,
actual
absolutely.
budget to the towns, and it needs to be a numbers conversation, not a PowerPoint.
And to be honest, more than that, what I would like to see is round 1 is the towns get together and tell her, this is how much you can increase your budget. And
Correct.
then she does that, and there is no more discussion beyond that point because that's the number.
Agreed.
Rather than her coming to us and saying it's going to be a 70% increase this year, and us like going, whoa, whoa, no. But again, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that after this season.
Correct.
Moving on. Where am I?
District, line 222.
Thank you. District vet assessment.
Says assessment, should it be the same?
Yeah, this one I think we have to shift the 21,
Yeah.
the 2216 to the left. 'cause
What
it's-
is this exactly?
this is, to pay, it's an assessment to the vets for the Greenfield, Veterans Headquarters that they serve our local vets.
So this would be, okay, so this is Veterans Affairs.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The next line is an estimate of how much will be, basically unemployment for vets that the town will have to pay for. And that's why I split it, because it's a guesstimate and it's a lot of money.
Can you tell me how this is connected to the cherry sheet sources that's labeled veterans benefits that is kind of a similar number but not exactly the same?
No, I can't.
Like, are we being refunded for whatever this is?
Yes.
Is this just an in and out?
They
Because then the number
refund us.
should be the same.
And they catch up, well, they never catch up, but it used to take them 3 years to get any money back that we spent. So this assessment that's like 40 grand, so basically we'll spend that on veterans. And then, we made a complaint, Stan, the small town administrators went to the vets, the state, and tried to get this speeded up, because now we get the money back closer to a year, but it used to be over 3 years, and the town pays 75% of, the state is supposed to reimburse us 75%, but it takes them over a year to get the money back. So we don't get it all back, but we get a reimbursement.
We do get a good chunk of that back, and ostensibly, we're getting back money from previous years this year.
Yeah.
So it may take us years, but like, in the long run, it all averages out.
Yeah, close to it.
Well, 75%.
75% of it does, yeah.
And then the 33,390 is what you think it could be the right number?
Yeah.
It's not definitely the wrong number. It could be the right number, like
So
it's not
that's
that
low
far
on the
from the
range of
actual.
what she thinks it is.
Yeah, because if you look at the actuals, they were a little closer to that.
Yep, the last actual was closer to that, yep.
Yeah,
So-
but 1 year was 65,000, so.
Right, so it could be, it's always a crapshoot. You never know. Somebody can move, it used to be that any vet moving into town from Vermont or anywhere the next day could come apply. They have put some better guardrails in. Now you have to have lived in your house for 6 months or a year.
Right, but then as people pass away, the number could drop, but then you could end up with, yeah.
So there's a lot of fluctuation, and we don't have a lot of control or knowledge over, so that's the only one of
But
those
it's
places where
close
if there's
to
a
what,
variance, we have
it's
a
not
variance.
completely unreasonable, so we're gonna keep it.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, reserve fund. So the reserve fund is one that, it's a number that we have in there based off of how much risk we normally take with our numbers. We're taking a lot more risk this year because we are playing a lot looser and closer to the line on a lot of these items, and so there's a much bigger chance that we're gonna have more withdrawals from the reserve fund this year than we would in any other year. And reserve fund is one of those funds where we don't spend it, it goes right back into free cash for next year, and woohoo. So, to be honest, I would like to see us add more to the reserve fund because of those variances in this year, knowing that it's going to be money that's coming out of free cash, but that it's there because we have to spend it if we need it. And
if we don't do it, we'll end up having a special town meeting to do the same thing.
And the special town meeting costs us a couple $1,000s to hold, and so I'd rather, again, have more money in the reserve fund.
So put that at 25?
I might even go more than that, to be honest, I don't know.
Do you think same in both scenarios or different?
We can't go down, unfortunately. I wouldn't say we need more in the reserve fund for the override, so whatever number we put in is gonna be the same across the board, yeah.
And you want the reserve fund addition funded by free cash or the whole thing, whenever you figure out the number?
We're gonna end up needing to figure out our funding at the end, so
Okay.
let's not worry about that too much in a second, but
So
I would
that's,
say
we
we
think
move.
that's 2,500, 1,000, we're gonna go back?
We have to move the 10,000 from the override over to, number one, it doesn't make any sense to have extra money in the reserve fund in the override, because if anything, our reserve fund needs to go down with an override. It makes sense to have as much money in the base as we can. So definitely the 25 in the base. The question is that even enough if we're talking about having all of these accounts that we're already saying are possibly gonna go over, or do we wanna go heavier in that, again, knowing that it's gonna be completing our free cash.
Right, but the thing is, if we have to go to special town meeting for one, you might as well go to special town meeting for 10.
But if it's reserve fund, we don't need special town meeting, we just need finance committee. That's what I'm saying, is that like, putting it in the reserve fund means we don't have to do a special town meeting, which costs us money and is a pain in the butt.
Right.
But I don't think we want to, I think we will go to special town meeting if the number gets beyond a certain point. So the question is, what is that point? 30,000?
That's what I'm saying, I don't know 25 is enough. It would end up being, we need 28,000 next year, so it feels real silly to have to go to a special town meeting for $3,000.
So, but we're in about 100,000 over budget on our base budget, right? So we need to cut out $100,000 from the budget.
So I think we should go through this first time.
Right, I know.
Like we are.
I'm just saying, we've always had 25 in it, maybe just keep it 25 this year. I'm not saying it shouldn't be more.
Leave it at 25 for now. Let's go through the other cuts that we're gonna make.
And so, yeah,
See where
let's
we're
see
at.
how much free cash and stabilization and OPEB we have left before we decide to put more into reserve. I agree with that, but I do think we need to push the 10 to the left and make it 25.
Yeah.
Okay,
Got it.
cool. That's the end of the miscellaneous. Wastewater treatment plant, that one, we really don't need to talk about because that's its own real budget, really. It's,
I do have a question about it.
of course you do.
I know.
Of course you do. What's the question?
Well, I'm curious why they changed from Friday, but more relevant to our topic here is, in this file that Becky has, on the revenue side, we're currently assuming 442,000. It should be the same as whatever this is. So we're actually going to pick up 20 or something $1,000 when we make that update. So
yes.
So it should net out zero.
It should net out zero. Separately, I'm less important but curious why it changed by $5,000 and $4,000 in the evaluation and the maintenance lines from Thursday. But I agree with you that it doesn't really matter so long as they balance, and if we add another 20,000 to revenues, then they will balance.
Okay. That, yes, I'm seeing what you do there.
I had a conversation with Rich Brenda about sludge.
Great.
And
I haven't had any of those this week. There's no sludge conversations this week.
they're the best. They're the best. They're coming all
You're
colors
lucky girl.
too. So we have a great increase, and if they can go to Lowell or they can go to someplace more local. If they go to Lowell more frequently, we're going to hit the $116,000 budget, and we can't control which one they go to.
The lines that changed weren't sludge, but it's not.
Okay, well, that's the
okay.
sludge inspired it, and then I talked to him about why, so I think I had the sewer maintenance and the evaluation line. We overspent the 20,000 this year, which appears to have been 15,000 last year. And we did it in the sewer maintenance and in the equipment evaluation. So everything is so much more expensive.
But
So
you
the
lowered
15
them though. That's
well, the
what- yeah.
15, I had gone to 20, and then I had gone to 24 for the sewer maintenance, but then with the 116 in sludge, I got nervous and went back down.
But there's revenue,
Right,
wastewater treatment has revenue, so as long as it
Right, so it
balances
doesn't
out.
matter.
So which total do you want for this on
I'd
the
rather
expense
have
side?
the 20,
The total for the whole thing, the 477 or the 468?
477.
But that will balance out on the revenue side, so.
Right.
Right, because this should have cost,
Other people in town who don't have sewer or anything, yep.
Thanks for you're here.
All right. Last up but not least is debt and interest. Interest on short-term debt, that was from 25. We don't have anything from this year. In fact, I don't think we have any debt from this year, right?
Right, zero debt.
Beautiful. Love to hear it. We do have, to be clear, we do have some payments on capital items that are in the capital budget, but that is not part of this budget at all. All right, that is the end of our budget. It's also 9:30. We've been here for 3.5 hours, or 3 hours from this.
so what is the budget gap now? You've been doing it as we go?
It's 112.
112. And that's currently
more?
with,
It was
What
at
do you have,
60
Erin?
to start.
yeah, we went up.
Yeah, no.
We got realistic,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Well, and that's the thing.
It has to be
116,
realistic.
sorry.
116. Okay. It was never realistic because we had changes to things that were
Did you
assessments
update
to begin
her
with. So
revenues?
that number of 60,000 was just a guess to begin with in the first place.
Yeah.
So what am I?
The question I have is that this number
Wastewater.
includes 250 of free cash and stabilization currently, or is it 200?
I think it contains 100 of stabilization and 150 of free cash.
Okay, so 250. So currently we're putting 250 of those funds into here, and we have a $116,000 gap. So I've heard a lot of people say that we have $160,000 we have to cut. That's not entirely true. We have $160,000 of money that we either have to cut or increase revenue to make up for. And so we could right now just say we're throwing another $116 of free cash and stabilization and OPEB and all that in there. We have it. We would be very low on all of them, but we have it. So we do have, again, just a level set, we do have a path to being able to pass it as it stands right now with.
Is that an argument to be made in our presentation to say our base budget was still $116,000 over, So in order to
I mean-
get that, we're gonna deplete our reserves, and you may be coming back for another override next year.
I mean, even more than that, it was $366,000 over. We had to put $366,000 of money in if we keep it like this, yes.
It's closer to 330, I think.
Yeah.
With the wastewater revenue adjustment.
Yes, sure.
It's closer to 330.
So we can, and we probably should on Wednesday, come back with any suggestions anyone else has of places we can make changes, so that we can try to get that 116 or 96,000, depending on where the wastewater falls.
Right.
We try to get that number a little lower if possible, but in the end, I don't know that there is much more in here, unless we're talking about cutting more hours, cutting more services, getting more harsh than it already is. So hopefully on Wednesday we can come back with maybe another $20,000 or so we can cut, and then at that point we're looking at putting more money from sources in, or having to make cuts that are like a position or hours at a library, or that kind of thing.
Are we willing to do that over just using whatever reserves we have?
So that's a good question, and if the override doesn't pass this year, we're having an override next year. Like there's no chance that we're funding the town next year without an override if we don't pass one this year. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe like new growth skyrockets and something happens, or the state comes in with
We
a
sell a
much
lot of
higher
marijuana in Sunderland.
Exactly, that becomes the most popular marijuana establishment ever. They sell millions of dollars, and we can have all this money. Aside from that, if we don't pass the override this year, there is no way to take more out of the budget next year to make up for the additional money that Darius is telling us we're going to have for our assessment and all of the health insurance. All these increases next year is going to suck if we don't pass this year. Because of that, next year we're going to have to be going for an override again, and we have to pass it next year if we don't pass it this year. And the town's going to be, have had a year of bad services, and then be told it's going to get worse. Because of that, if it doesn't pass this year, I am okay with more of our reserve money be going into the budget to pass it, because, does that make sense? Where I'm coming from here?
Yeah, the argument is, do we eat up our reserves to get to a base, like a non-override budget, to then go into an override budget next year?
But do we set ourselves up? If we put too much into it, are we setting ourselves up for people to go, I can live with that?
Well,
can we not pass the override?
If we do the reserves, are we showing, we've already done a fair amount of cuts. The school's gonna cut all the arts programs, library's getting cut, we've trimmed everyone's budgets down, so we're gonna say, here's the pain points.
I think there's a lot of town office hours that are going to need to be cut in the base budget to get to something like, and I don't want any of that, but that's the one thing we started noting hours throughout, and I don't know which ones or how many, if it's just the same across the board.
Yeah.
I'm just feeling, is that gonna impact the citizens?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
How are they gonna feel it? I'm just trying to frame it.
Yeah.
Like, how are they gonna feel it?
But if we cut, 30 hours to 28, if we cut 28 to 24, if we cut 24 to 20.
All it is
There's a part where benefits become important and we have to be careful, but we cut 8 to 6, like we
I
kind of
know,
cut.
but then those staff are still gonna try to do their jobs, and the citizens aren't gonna see that. It's just gonna be stressing out.
That's a fair point.
Because I've been down this road plenty of times where it's like, you do more with less, because you don't want to mess up services. So everyone's going to work and be pissed off that they're doing the same amount,
Right, I mean, we
less
already
hours, and
heard.
no one's going to know otherwise.
The clerk already feels like that from the 2009
I know,
override.
exactly. So
Right, and we already heard that they weren't gonna increase some line item because they were gonna go ahead and do it on their own just to get it done. We can't
I know.
have, and again, if we cut treasurer, collector, if we cut town clerk, are we starting to get to the point where we're gonna be losing revenue also because the collector, and they can't get out and they can't keep track of, did all the excise bills get paid, and
I'm just saying, I agree, I think it's a middle ground probably, I think the hour cuts, but I just don't see that translating to impact to the citizens. I think it's just gonna be impact to the people.
Which is why I'm gonna put the don't plow the sidewalks back.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like that.
I'd rather
And
do that.
I talked to George about plowing the sidewalks. It's, you know, it's 4 to 8 days a year.
But remove it, we don't.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's part of a person's job. It's not
I know.
a separate one.
Right, but we cut that person's job and we tell the town, one of your, two of your,
Yeah.
you know, it's.
My
It's
new,
not a full-time job, though. Again, we're
Full-time,
also talking
32 hours
I mean,
a year.
we have a pretty strong narrative of 6 cuts at the school, a police officer cut. I think people are going to be worried, pretty severely of the cuts. We need to keep a list for our narrative when we get up there and say what serious impacts are going to happen if we don't pass over.
Right, so we have.
There's some pretty serious.
We have the schools, no senior center, reduction of police force to some degree, cuts across the board, and then we say we dip into our
7 hours at the
reserves.
library.
Yeah, and we dip
And most likely an override next year. I mean,
and we dipped into our
That's it now,
reserves
it's
by
not
like
later.
30%. I think it's a good marketing thing to say that we dipped in, then cutting 3 hours here and there.
So-
That's just
I
my
think we need to
opinion.
figure out what the number looks like with cutting those, what that looks like, what that means in our reserves. I think this is a conversation to have on Wednesday
Yeah.
in terms of figuring out
So,
what that looks
I'm
like.
gonna suggest this, that we are starting at the point where I'm exhausted. My brain's starting to shut down.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of good work today, we got through this list. We have a bunch of pullaways for figuring out between now and Wednesday. Hopefully by Wednesday, we'll have some answers and be able to nail this down even more. Wednesday's discussion is going to be largely what we're starting to talk about right now, which is
Yeah.
the last couple of cuts or the last couple of money increases to make this last 118,000 or 87,000, depending on where the wastewater falls.
Agenda, I have some help.
All right,
I have
on that
26,
end,
I just didn't pass them down. I'm so sorry.
would you guys like to adjourn?
Can we talk about what our planned meeting schedule is just for the next
Absolutely.
2 weeks before we adjourn?
This week, we have a meeting planned on Wednesday.
Yep.
I don't feel like we have a need for more than the 2 this week. And then next Monday, and what I would like to propose is when we meet on Wednesday, by the end of Wednesday, we'll have an idea of what we need beyond Monday of next week.
But we definitely meet next Monday.
Definitely meeting
Yeah.
this Wednesday,
Yeah.
definitely meeting next Monday, and by that point, if we need more on Wednesday, we'll add another one, and then on Monday, we'll add another one,
Okay.
because we can still do that.
And I like the Wednesday.
How are we tracking on non-budget warrant articles that we're gonna need to either review or recommend?
I've started them and I went through the new ones that have come in. So I've started putting it together and I'm trying to have it for you guys on Wednesday.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
But I don't know if I'll have all the.
I know it'll be a draft, there may still be some.
And it won't, and I'm trying to get it to the lawyer on Friday.
Okay.
Great.
All right, any other questions from anybody before, the 2 boards adjourn?
Can I have a motion to
Wonderful.
adjourn for the finance committee?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Joe?
Joe Elias. Yep, Joe Elias.
All right, at the time, I entertain a motion for the select board to
Do we
adjourn.
want to do new business or we're not doing that?
Are you gonna do the common victualler's license?
Oh, yeah, sorry. 30 more seconds for us. All right. We have a application for a common victualler license for the Frosty. The Frosty is changing hands from the current owners to a family member, a niece, I think, who's taking over ownership. They did not apply for a common vic last year into this season because things were up in the air. They're coming in now to ask for one. I have no questions on that. Any questions?
I have no.
Dan, any questions?
All good.
All right, at this time, I entertain a motion to approve the common victualler license for the Frosty.
I motion we approve the common vic license for our Sugarloaf Frosty.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Dan Murphy.
Aye, Nathaniel. That's 3-0. Thank you very much. All right, very quickly, old business. Any select board updates? None for me?
I only have a select board update of our South County EMS director has submitted his resignation. He will be leaving June 25th. So, we will be in the process. We got a meeting scheduled for early April to start figuring this out. Woohoo! It was a big shock.
Wow.
I know.
How long you been here?
2 years, I think.
Yeah, just about 2 years.
Think you too?
Yeah.
Do you know where he's going?
No, no idea.
Alright.
Anything else, Crystal?
Other than that, I'm all set.
Dan, anything from you?
No.
All right, that's it for select board updates. Anything town administrator updates?
No.
Wonderful, that's what I wanted to hear. No public comments because there's nobody left in the room at this point. Anyone on the wall? I think everyone is either in this meeting, here with us.
Yeah.
All right, that means it is time to adjourn. I would entertain a motion.
I motion we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, Nathaniel Waring, aye?
Aye.
Dan Murray.
All right, that is 3-0. Time is 9:41. Thank you very much, everybody. See you on Wednesday.